everybody assumes that the Monopoly man had a monocle, and he never had a monocle.
Oh, I was totally gonna say monocle.
And he never had a monocle.
Or the Berenstein Bears. Is it the Berenstein or Berenstein?
It's Bernstein, I think. But anyways, it's conscious, subconscious.
He was a rapist.
So because you said 80s and workout, who's the 80s workout guy that you remember?
Olivia Newton-John.
Gene Simmons. Richard Simmons.
Yeah, he was banging all kinds of bitches.
Richard Simmons. Richard Simmons never wore a headband.
Really?
Never. Here's the crazy part. Richard Simmons never wore the headband, but when anybody intimidate anybody, what do you call it?
Describe
imitates. There you go. When anybody imitates Richard Simmons on SNL or anything from that time frame,
it did so many times that
with a headband. If you try and get a Richard Simmons costume, it comes with a fucking headband. But there are no pictures of Richard Simmons ever wearing a headband.
I'm going to go buy this old Schwinn exercise bike. It's all chrome and shit.
Do you have, you do have them, don't you?
I don't know.
You have those,
yeah.
You have the exercise bar,
the roar ropes?
No, the
yeah, the hand grip things?
No, sorry, bowling, the bowling pins, don't you? Don't you have the exercise bowling pins?
No, I have bowling pins. I see the exercise ones all the time. I've never bought any of them. I can get them. Why?
Because you're talking about doing. I see you want to do an old time exercise video.
Well, I'm talking about like
old time.
Amanda found, because we're gonna go get this thing, and kind of like B-roll, just like 1 second clip to her headband and long socks and 1970s dolphin short kind of shit. She found a whole costume. I guess it's a costume on Amazon of all that bullshit. And then we'll go buy the thing and bring it home and do a normal video. But at the end, you'll just.
What is it?
It's exercise bike.
Oh, what? 1920s or 80s?
No, it's like probably 60s, 70s.
Is it one where you do this and
one.
You do this and you pedal?
Yeah.
Oh.
But you get like fucked up in them. Like people always got hurt on them and shit.
I would have to. She needs to find me a legit fro.
Oh shit, that'd be awesome.
I would need a fro. I would need my hair
you guys
and then a fro.
Turn that off.
What song?
My name's John Willis.
What time?
You can call me Freddy Krueger. Did she say that?
I don't know.
What time?
Why do I have that?
I don't know.
What time is it?
What time is it?
10:42.
No, it's not. It's podcast time.
What episode is it? Why does this not sound right? What is
36.
going on here?
39.
It's 36.
I don't think I'm loud enough. Do I need to make me louder?
It's 36.
72.
seis. What?
How's that?
Is that good? What happened?
I'm good, yeah.
I can't. My left ear is not working. I don't understand. This is stereo, right?
Yeah, are you for real?
Of course. What?
You know why your
what are you doing?
stuff goes out? Because look at this.
I didn't do that. All that's like that. No, it's fine. Go away. Why are you trying to touch my ear? Pervert.
It's wet. Did you see him put his tongue in there?
I know. I saw him lick his finger. I knew it was coming. It's dirty like that.
Do Marines do wet willies a lot?
No, not a lot. No.
I figured
There's not a lot of wet willing going on in the Marine Corps. There probably is now. They're probably blowing on penis tips and stuff.
It's not the same. Anyways.
It's not the same blowing on penises?
No, it's different now.
It's different now. Yo, what's up? What's happening in your life? What's going on?
Nothing. The weather has finally. I feel like
the grass has grown 20 fucking inches in 4 hours. You get a lot of rain like Saturday, dude. It fucking stormed here like crazy.
But it went from 98 to 85, and I was like, oh, it's so nice outside.
Yeah, I walked out. It was 65 degrees yesterday morning.
So, I love it because I can do stuff outside now and not die. Where, like last week.
Don't worry, next week it'll freeze.
Like
fucking ice.
Last week I was trying to level that trailer, and I almost had a heart attack. It was so
shipping
disgusting
container
out there.
What does that mean? What does that mean? That's like people say they're starving. I don't think they've actually ever seen starving. Like, what is heart attack?
Shortness of breath, collapsing to your knees.
Like went and got an EKG?
Tingling in your arm.
Did that all happen to you?
The world collapsing down to a minute. All that happened.
So you fell to your strongest training.
Yes, I did. I
Your
felt
small motor skills went out the window. You couldn't do kung fu.
I crawled to the Jeep, opened my bag.
You have a Jeep?
Got out my special elixir. I had to drink a whole bottle, and it brought me back. Brought me back from the brink.
What would happen if you drank just normal Pepsi?
Well, there's the problem with normal Pepsi is the sugar.
Would it resuscitate you though?
I'm sure it would bring me back to life. Yes, of course.
Do you think there's
Pepsi.
any of the same chemicals in Pepsi as Diet Pepsi?
Well, Diet Pepsi has a chemical that regular Pepsi doesn't have.
Yeah, poison?
No. It's the happy. They put a chemical in here that makes people happy. That's why
so
I
it
don't
tricks
kill
them to
everybody.
drinking diet bullshit.
Well, that's all right. It's good.
Oh, you do have a Jeep, don't you?
No, I don't. That's John's Jeep. It's not my Jeep.
Like M151?
No, well, the M151 is going to be a barn find for somebody 20 years from now. But he's got a Roxer.
There's a dude right up the road from you that has M151s.
No, there's not.
Yeah.
No.
When I come out to your place on Thanksgiving, they're always shooting guns on the left-hand side. They got like army Jeeps and shit.
I don't know which road you're taking. This morning was the first time I seen regular people driving a Humvee around Waverly.
You I don't know either, but you drive and they have a farm on the left side. There's a barn and they're like right parallel to the road. Their guns are coming this way and you're driving this way. And
that part doesn't surprise me.
And there's usually children out there shooting and
that part doesn't
old
surprise
men.
me. Like when they used to shoot up at the church, they would just put targets up and then shoot bullets into my yard. Yeah, that part doesn't surprise me. It is actually weird that Tennessee is so it's so free because
they process cows around here and they're like, there were 17 bullets in this thing.
You own the bullet when you fire it. So I don't understand why people don't make sure they're backstopping things. But I guess it's just because we're in the country and they assume it's not going to hit anything.
We still have old folks around here shooting guns, So like the dude like your neighbor when he was shooting guns, that dude's probably 60?
Yeah.
He could have bought that gun fucking from a catalog. Like you could buy guns through the mail back then. He didn't know no.
Sears and Roebuck.
Yeah.
Buy them catalogs and slips for your woman.
Slips for your woman?
Slips.
Like underdress things?
Yeah, slips. That's what they call
them back
then.
I
Slips.
remember, dude, do you remember getting the Sears and Roebuck catalog?
I believe I had one at one time.
So my grandma, you'd get a couple through the year that were, I don't know, maybe 100 pages. But you'd get this
big ones. Those were the farm.
You'd get this thing, and it was bigger than the yellow pages, like the San Diego yellow pages.
You could order a house out of them.
You can order several houses out of there. But you know what they had in there? Right next to the kid toys, or maybe before you got to the kid toys, they had 2 pages of switches.
Switches? Why would you need to buy a switch from Sears?
They did. Sears and Roebuck had switches to spank your kids with.
That's what I think. That's exactly what I think. I want to put a spin on this, John.
Brandel never got a spanking?
No, man. Look at him.
Brandel got a spanking this weekend.
Do you think he got a spanking? No, come on. Look at him. There's no way he got spankings when he was a kid.
So did you guys move those 2 sheds?
One of them so far.
And they're 40 foot? How'd you move them?
No, they're half. They're only 20.
How'd you move them?
My dad's got a 3-car trailer.
But how'd you get it on there?
He has little jacks for cars.
Man, Next time we need to move some shit, your dad has to, it took me a year to find a dude to move this.
My dad just jacked up one side and pushed the trailer and it kept reversing. And then would jack up the other side and then
I know he leaves home because I know he's been here before.
Has he been here?
Not.
Well, Brandel was driving here. He was a couple miles from here and the wheel fell off his car. Not really. I don't want to make Brandel sound silly. The wheel didn't really fall off his car, but a wheel bearing went out in the car.
Is that when you were stuck on the side of the road way over here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that this beauty over here that you have now?
No.
Oh, it was a different one?
The same.
Yeah.
That was a Mazda.
I don't understand why a big strapping young man like yourself likes these little rice burners. You should be in
miles per gallon.
He fancies himself. When he looks in the mirror, he sees Vin Diesel.
And what does Vin Diesel drive? V8 steel, my friend.
Not in real life.
V8 steel.
He's only 4'8".
Is he?
Yeah, he's like
Tiny
a couple
guy?
inches from a midget.
Okay, well, I mean, that's possible. Booster seat in the old Camaro.
He wears these big platform shoes.
It's possible.
I guess we're not ever getting Vin Diesel on the podcast now.
Or maybe we will.
Maybe we will.
He wants to
Arm wrestle you.
arm wrestle.
I want to Greco-Roman wrestle you.
Do you know that he's a billionaire?
Does not surprise because he owns the franchise.
Yep, because he owns the franchise.
But then The Rock came in and kind of fucked him, tried to do his own
Yeah, The
spin-off.
Rock tried to do a spin-off. You know, because here's the thing about The Rock. The Rock is really good at smelling easy money. And he saw
because he's not a good actor.
He saw the easy money that those stupid Fast and Furious movies are. And so he's like, I could get some of that easy money. But it didn't work out, did it? Because Vin Diesel's got the...
I wish they'd just come out. I wish The Rock would just be like, okay, here's the chemicals that I do. Here's the chemicals that I used to use. Here's the chemicals that I currently use. Because a dude with that kind of money, I want to hear the truth, right? What are you getting IV infusions? What are you using injectables? What are you using orals? What does your whole regimen look like?
I've seen him talk about it. It's all natural.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's all natural.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, I've seen him eat a whole plate of cookies. So it has to be...
Are you familiar with MNM? It's like energy for your brain.
No.
Well, they sell it in a bottle. Like, there's several companies selling it. Like, here's a clue, guys. If you're buying supplements from a company and the label is blurry, that might be a clue that you don't know what the fuck is. If they can't get their bottle right, what they're telling you's in there might not be in there.
Well, I mean, I hate to say it, but the modern supplement craze is no different than the cart coming through your town and being like, this elixir will fix all your ills. It's just snake oil.
Yeah, I mean, most of the old shit was cocaine.
I mean, you put a little speed in there, everybody's going to be like, yeah, this is the best chocolate shake I've ever had in my life.
I picture like where you go get the raw goods from. I picture we got to go deep in the jungle. There's some barefoot people. There's probably somebody like chewing up coca leaves on the side. And then there's all these powders on the table. And you're like, what's that powder? No, I don't want that one. What's this powder? And then there's probably a cobra there somewhere.
Well, they're milking the cobra.
Because
cobra venom is what The Rock uses.
That's the supplement I want. If the FDA's like, we're going to ban this, you know to go buy it all right now.
Yep.
That's why you just look for the made in Taiwan or Thailand kind of like labels.
Do they have that on supplements?
Do you know that not Taiwan, Thailand. I'm sure it's all over actually minor Asia, but they still use formaldehyde in their beer. So as a freshening agent, you may be buying a product that is packed full of formaldehyde.
What's the problem with that? It causes cancer, but only in California.
I don't know. I'm sure it causes cancer. I'm sure it does a lot of other shit too.
So I have some formalin.
But I will tell you this. They literally said that they would tell you that when you're going ashore. Hey, don't drink the local beer. It's full of formaldehyde. But the local beer was like 25 cents.
That's why, yeah.
That's everybody was drinking it.
Because they didn't ferment. They didn't fucking let it actually develop alcohol. They just put that shit in there. I have formalin, which is it's formaldehyde. And you use it to inject them into specimens, to preserve them. If you just take like a dead animal and you put it in a jar of rubbing alcohol, like it'll rot. Like when I was a kid, I would take, lizards or whatever when they die, and I'd put them in these jars of rubbing alcohol like the science class had. But over a time period, over, several months, it'd get this little black rotten spot on the belly, and the thing would still rot from the inside out. So you're supposed to inject. You inject into the brain, you inject into the body, you inject into the legs and shit, and you put this formalin in there. But it's highly, highly bad for you. Okay. So people are injecting these things and getting these wet specimens ready. And every now and then in these oddities groups, you'll see a picture where somebody has fucking injected this shit into their finger, and the whole finger's gone necrotic. So I guess the moral of the story is when you're at your kitchen table injecting dead animals with formalin, don't be distracted by just like when you're handling your cobra. Careful. Yeah, don't bring your cobra out or gabbling viper when your boy's there drinking beers.
Yeah, if you're drunk, don't.
Most of the envenomations happen.
Don't play with your snakes.
All right, what episode are we at?
39.
39. It's really loud.
You were messing with the volume. You're messing
Pulling the Thread podcast, episode 39. Is that what you
Ish.
said?
Yep.
Is it 39?
39.
You said 36 earlier.
I thought he said 45.
I believe he said 36.
Said 39.
Let's break it off in the middle and just call it 38.
No, because the
35.
lost tape, the band one was 35.
The band tape
Yep,
was
and we just
35.
did that, and then we did 36 last.
I can't believe. So if that one was banned,
We're definitely fucked.
was the next week banned too?
It wasn't, and you said way more the next week.
So did
well,
you
now
see,
you're going to get this one banned and that one banned, and that's 3 strikes, and we're on.
So did you see YouTube has this new program out? Did you get a notification? So YouTube has this new program out that you have to take this online class, and then they'll remove your strike, which makes no sense because the strike only holds for 90 days. And Austin's like, I was going to look at it. I go, don't do shit with it yet, because as soon as you take this fucking class, now you know the rules. Now that you're just locked out forever.
You're beholden. But
Yeah.
again, maybe it is just YouTube's way of being like,
No, they're getting ready.
We can't control this madness. Let's just do this class and let people take the thing and get their shit back on the YouTube.
Well, they just came out with this new guideline for the coming pandemic, right? That they've already announced and projected. You are not able to question or make any statements other than what is put out by the World Health Organization.
Yes, I
So,
heard that.
and if you do, that's a strike. So,
Oh, well. What are you going to do? Because we already know that the World Health Organization doesn't know anything about what they're talking about.
right, the World Health Organization is politicians, not doctors.
But again, let's reverse this for just a second. If you think about the World Health Organization, Fauci and them were definitely putting out guidelines that were above and beyond what the World Health Organization was doing.
Yeah, I don't think it's the limit. Fauci, though. Do you watch YouTube?
Sometimes.
Have you been getting all these notifications about, and I don't know who's putting them out, but there's all these commercials about stinging pests and flying insects, and don't trust what people are saying. You have to use a product that has, I think it's has DEET in it or something else, because there's all these. So I was laughing. I've seen the commercial like 20 times, but I was laughing because now all of a sudden we have these mosquitoes out there that can vaccinate people. We have all these mosquitoes out there, and all of a sudden malaria has made a huge comeback in the United States. So here's this commercial about only use this product, and I'm like, oh, there it is. Somebody has released malaria-laden mosquitoes, and here's your solution for it.
There's a pretty good meme where it's they're talking about all you need. You know, when people from like the West Coast are talking about all you need is bug spray, and then they're like bugs in the South, and it's a can of Deep Woods. The fucking mosquito's got his tip. He's got his fucking right in the tip of the Deep Woods. Just drinking it.
Is that the stuff you spray on your clothes and stuff? Yeah. Cutter or whatever.
Yeah.
The different brands.
I mean, DEET. The DEET's been around for a long time. I mean, I remember in the first Gulf War, back in the wee early days. They were. I may have it. I may still have it. They were giving us these cans, these cases of cans that were, the cans were yellow, long disclaimer all over the cans, black lids, and they were like, whatever you do, don't get this shit on your skin. It's just for your uniforms. And you know how people are. Especially Marines. They spray that shit all over, but that was I think those cans were like something crazy, like 80% DEET. They were just like
what
melt your brain.
Did you have mosquitoes in the Middle East?
You know, it's weird. I don't ever remember a bug problem, but everything there was insect. Everything there was set up to be deadly for insects, like the tents. Back then we would rent the tents from the host country, and the tents were all covered in kerosene.
Oh.
And the people clean their floors with kerosene because it kills the bugs. So, I mean, I don't ever remember a situation where I was like, oh my God, these, like the flies or these whatever is terrible. I need bug spray, but everything was covered in it.
Do you have ticks, like when you're out on your property? Do you get
ticks? Yeah, ticks everywhere. Ticks everywhere.
So do you just like spray your pants before you go out there, or what do you do?
Well, I was like every couple of days, I'll just lay out when I'm doing yard specific. So yard specific stuff. If I'm gonna be on the mower all day, or I'm gonna go anywhere near the fucking tree line, I actually get an old uniform out, spray the whole thing down front and back, let it dry, and then I'll wear that. But I still get ticks.
For people that don't know, like coming from California, like every now and then you would see a tick if you were like in manzanita or brush, you know, but it was rare. When you move here, there are a lot of ticks. I have not ever found, like, I've seen a tick like on my clothes. I've never had a tick bite that I know of. But when you're mowing and you go under trees, there are types of ticks here that they literally sit in the trees up high and they wait and then they drop down on you. So
yeah, I actually get contact.
Yeah.
So every tick season, I'm usually 4 or 5. I don't know. Every summer, I probably get 10 ticks that I have to pluck off.
Really?
Oh yeah. John, I get in the woods.
Like crawling and shit?
No, I don't crawl, but if you literally walk just like you said, as soon as you get under the trees, but if you walk from one side of the riverbank to the other side, you have a tick on you. There's no fucking way that you don't.
What if you just rode a 4-wheeler?
I don't have a 4-wheeler. I just have a Super 73. What's up? Greatest bike ever. Okay.
You like that thing?
Oh yeah, it's fun as heck. I love it. And again, Brandon's like, download the app and you can do all kind. I was on that site for 2 hours the other day. Didn't find no damn app. There's all kinds of Gucci stuff you can put on there.
He probably wasn't on Super 73.
I was on Super 73. It's all Gucci. You know, it's actually all Gucci yuppie.
You know, you got to download the app.
Gear.
Yeah, you just go to your app store.
You got to do it through the app store.
That's not what you told me. You said go to the website. So I'm on the website and I'm like looking at those. Sorry, Super 73, but I'm looking at the bikes at the Super 73 that they have on the I'm like, I wouldn't buy any of these.
Why?
Because they look hideous.
The Super 73 bikes?
Yes, they look. The problem is you see Brandl's Super 73. Brandl made a badass Super 73. The ones that they have set up, like they look like nerdy girl bikes.
No, I've seen some OD green ones and stuff. You got to look on their Instagram.
Yeah, but again, that's other people. Like really Super 73. Look, I know you're not watching this podcast.
They like all of our content.
But if you do, you need to get Brandl, and you need to do a specific Brandl model. I promise you, it's going to be more expensive.
Do a Brandl Films edition.
But it's definitely cooler than anything you have on your current site. It's definitely cooler, and people will pay the money to have that bike because it's badass. The reality is that's the only reason why I have the Super 73 is because of him, because of the way he made that bike functionally look good. So yeah,
it's just all black, right?
Well, it's all, but again, you're not like they had this long ass seat. It's ridiculous. They put the batteries and everywhere that it shouldn't be. There's nothing on the bike that says I can carry more than 2 pounds. I'm telling you.
So they're made.
The way he makes it look is way better.
They're made for like. My perception is they're made for like college kids, right? This is their mode of transportation.
Definitely.
And he's riding with his girlfriend. I'm pretty sure is it How to Beast? I'm pretty sure that's a Super 73 he has. And when I started watching How to Beast hasn't really come up in my YouTube stuff for a while. I know he's still making videos, but I was watching him a year or two ago. And every time I'd see that bike, that's how I started looking at those things, was because of that. And then some other content creators were doing, actually went to Super 73 and checked out their facility and stuff. But the bikes are neat. When I put up the pictures of you ripping around out here. Super 73 actually liked all those pictures.
Well, of course they would, because I look good on that thing. But the bike is awesome.
There's a huge aftermarket for them. There's companies in business solely to make parts for those things.
Well, I will say this: the bike is awesome. I didn't think it was going to be. I mean, what can you expect from electric? I didn't think it was going to be that good, but the bike is awesome. Like it's just awesome. I love riding it, but again, I would not have. If it was independent searching, if I was searching around and I'm like, I'm going to buy a $4,000 electric bike, I wouldn't have bought a Super 73.
What'd you buy?
I don't know. I probably would have been at the same place I was before Brandel showed me his, where I was like, none of these are worthy of owning.
Have you seen the
until he brought his in here?
Saurons do like 85 miles an hour. You know, they have.
I can't wait till Super 73 is coming out with a motorcycle. And if that thing is an
electric motorcycle.
Yes.
So there's electric motorcycles right now. Full blown dirt bikes. There's electric motorcycles that are full blown like ninjas and shit.
But they're small.
No, these are not. I don't think these are small.
Well, the company that I can't think of the name of the company. The company that came out with the first electric motorcycles, they're small, like not much bigger than the bicycle. Where I believe that the motorcycle that 73 is coming out with is going to be. It's probably not going to be the same size as a motorcycle, but it's going to be a little bit closer. And I really would like to see that. I think that thing's going to be badass.
Do you know Harley has an electric bike out?
Yeah, and it's terrible.
Is it?
Yeah, it's terrible.
How come?
It has a problem with charging and overheating, and
sometimes it burns your house down.
Maybe, and the range of it is not as good as you would think it would be.
Do you know Mike from Key Bar? Our buddy Mike makes like the switchblade thing for keys. He had a camera, like a nanny cam at the house.
Don't come after me, Harley. But
we got a friend that owns a Harley dealership.
But stick to gas burners, because that's what you're good at.
So Mike had a nanny cam to look at it, talk to his dog during the day or whatever.
Weirdo.
And he just happened to be like talking to the dog, and he had some, I think they were 18650s, like vape battery chargers on the coffee table, and it fucking exploded and caught on fire.
It happens.
And he had it on camera. There's some electric bikes. I think they were like Alibaba bikes or something, but there's some electric bikes that blew up, and I mean like blew a fucking hole through the wall, kind of blew up shit.
Well, I mean, again, we what is it? We just assume things are safe, but any rechargeable battery has the capability of going fucking high order and burning your house down.
I'm concerned always with that. Even when I buy I don't buy stuff that's not name brand, but like DeWalt, for instance, or Milwaukee, or anything that is a rechargeable battery. I don't ever just get home, plug it in, and leave it overnight the first few times, right? Like it might just light the building on fire. I don't ever leave it plugged in. I act as though it might catch fire several times. So if I'm going to charge up a new battery or start using a new device, I do it like in the morning while I'm going to be at the shop all day, so that I'm there. Like, oh, what's that smell? Oh yeah, the building's on fire.
I did that with I usually, like, the DeWalt stuff. I don't ever do that. I just plug the DeWalt stuff in because I have in my head I've programmed myself to think that those things that it's not gonna happen. I bought a Greenworks chainsaw, and that's that 56 amp battery.
Is that Is that from Home Depot?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw those the other
day.
When
I plugged that one in.
Groundworks?
Huh?
Groundworks or Greenworks?
Greenworks, I believe.
They have like 5 or 6 of those things.
Well, when I plugged that thing in, I would let it charge during the day, and then at night I'd be like, I'm unplugging you so you don't burn my house down.
Yeah. Just until you build up some trust with your charging
build
devices.
Up trust, but I mean, because again, they all have the capability of high ordering and burning your house down, or burning the area because of what it is, that rechargeable battery. The thing I find with DeWalt though is DeWalt just dies.
Well, like maybe that's
my DeWalt
safety.
batteries. My DeWalt batteries, when they go, they just die. They're just like useless.
So I remember Spearco saying something. There's like a little trick. There's when you're he specifically said DeWalt batteries. Yeah. Like you'll think your DeWalt batteries are dead, but they're not.
I did all that.
All
shit.
of it.
I did all that shit. Hook them up together. Hook them up pair. I did all that shit because I'm like, it was working perfectly fine, and now it's just dead.
Do you know there's some generic batteries out on the market for DeWalt?
Mm-hmm. But again,
do you also know that there are
generic?
Generic
batteries are kind of a strange
Well,
animal.
there's batteries called protected and non-protected.
Yeah.
And the protected is supposed to negate them burning your shit down. You know there's an adapter plate so you can use other brands in your DeWalt and use cross batteries and stuff?
But why would I buy a different battery for my DeWalt when I could just use my DeWalt batteries?
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. But if you have a bunch of these things.
I'm a nerd. I'm a nerd in that perspective. I don't buy when you see hedge trimmer tool only and it's half the price. I don't buy any DeWalt stuff like that. I buy it with the battery, with the charger. That way I have 10 batteries, because the truth of the matter is, no matter what batteries you have, you don't have enough batteries. Yeah. Like if you're going to, John bought the 20, what is it? The 20 volt, 56 volt battery system. Anyways, for all his outside stuff. And he bought 4 batteries. That's still not enough to edge trim his whole place.
Well, he has miles of fence line. He should use electric right up around the house and gas everywhere else.
I don't want to mess with gas. So, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to mess with gas. Because that's the thing. The only reason why I have it is because of the original, when DeWalt did that original 40 volt shit. I bought the lawnmower. I bought the edge trimmer. I bought the saw. I bought everything. And then they discontinued the 40 volt.
So I bought all the 80 volt.
DeWalt.
I went with the Cobalt because it was 80 volt.
Yeah.
Bought all that shit. And then they discontinued it. And now they only have 40 volt stuff. But I did see that Groundworks, that Greenworks stuff that you got. And they have some like big equipment.
Yeah, they have a
mower.
What's that thing you drive around? Cut your grass?
Zero turn?
They have a zero turn. You got to put 90 batteries in it, and it only lasts 30 minutes.
Yeah, I lifted the deck on that. Yeah. It takes like fucking 12 batteries or something in there.
You got to put 90 batteries in it, and it only lasts 12 minutes. But did you see? Speaking of batteries, did you see the CEO of Ford?
No. Aren't there shit lighting on fire?
Well, again, the problem with cars is you have to have a very high flow rate to charge these cars up so they're usable, right? So they're creating a lot of heat. And that's why, fucking go ahead and look on the internet. That's why Teslas catch on fire. That's why
Pierre has a Tesla.
Okay. It doesn't surprise me.
And he, like, the way to really do it is to do the charging wall, right? You have this charge wall in there, and then you can charge your battery wall off of city power. And then you can expand it and go solar, right? So if you're doing solar, like John Bush, he went to buy a Tesla battery wall, ended up putting in 3 Tesla battery walls. I believe he put in their solar panel system, and he's like, fuck it, might as well buy a Tesla. So he's got the whole thing. He loves it for most of it. Like, he drove it from Texas to here. He was here in that thing. I don't know how many times he had to stop to do it.
Well, that's the beautiful thing. I mean, I'm sure the Ford Lightning does the same thing, but
Pierre didn't go with that. But he did have to have an electrician come in and put in some special outlet, and there's a fix for it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it charges as fast as that system or what really is involved in that. But he said, like, the Tesla, he's like, it's a piece of shit. He was on his second or third one, and he's like, they're nice, they're like 90%, but there's always something wrong with it that should not be wrong with it.
Well, it's because they're what most people don't understand is the car company. Tesla's the car company of the future. They're the car company of the future, and in the future, you don't own a Tesla.
Correct, yeah.
And because you don't own a Tesla...
Well, you really don't own a Tesla now.
Yeah, kind of. Meaning, the car company of the future, you won't need a charging wall because the Tesla's going to drop you off, and then the Tesla's going to go to the hub.
That's what it's moving to, yeah.
The hub where it just sits and waits for the next person.
It's moving to, you won't ever buy a car, you will rent or lease a car.
Which will only work for a short period of time because, again, if you can afford a Tesla... Right? If you can afford a Tesla, you are not going to want the Tesla to show up and have fucking McDonald's wrappers in the back seat. That's what if you
Yeah.
know. You just think.
Yeah.
I don't care how they sell it, but just imagine a ride-sharing system that everybody uses. Right? You're going to get one day. You're going to get into the Tesla's going to show up to pick you up, and there's going to be a dirty diaper in the back seat
or a condom.
So yeah, it's not gonna work the way this utopia that the uber rich believes is going to be there. It's not going to work the way they think it is.
So Cadillac for years now, Cadillac has a lease program, and basically you buy into it, and they will bring you they bring it right to you. They deliver it. It's all detailed and cleaned, and you keep it as long as you want it. But you can change, I think, up to 20 or 40 times a year. So if you're moving some shit and you need an Escalade this weekend, you can get that. And then if you want a CTS to drive because you're going to the mountains and you want a 2-door, they'll drop that off for you. But you don't actually own that thing. And then you've got the lease programs like, I think it was Ford with the heated seats. I think it was Ford. Maybe it was Toyota. Somebody with the heated seats. You have to pay a monthly fee to have your
BMW.
You have your. There's a truck company too.
BMW, but they had to. There was so much backlash. They had to be like, all right, you guys can heat your seats.
But that's just moving into you're not going to own a vehicle because you're not going to leave your 15-minute city. Have you seen all the 15-minute city shit popping up about where all these fucking places are burning down?
Yeah.
Do you the Hawaii thing? Okay.
Okay. Let's go to Hawaii.
Do you think there's anything weird about about Maui burning down, or do you think it's just all coincidence? All this fucking.
You want to hear my conspiracy theory?
Yeah.
Are you guys ready for this?
Have you seen all the?
I don't think anybody is ready for what I'm about to say. I don't think you're ready.
It's exactly what they told us it was.
Nope.
No.
No,
Do
but
you
the
see
reason
all
why
the lasers won't burn blue shit?
The reason why, because it has to do with ultraviolet rays. Okay. The reason why they are not letting people talk about Maui, and the reason why they are keeping it so contained, is because the Chinese did it. The Chinese used a direct energy weapon to burn Maui. Okay? Now, hear me out when I say this. The Chinese were doing blue roofs way before we did. And the reason why they were doing blue roofs way before we did is because we used a direct energy weapon in China to start fires. The Chinese copied this piece of tech. They copied this piece of tech, and this is a response to what we are doing in China, as far as all the weather shit.
Yeah, China's been saying we're causing all their floods and shit.
Yeah, so this is a response by China. Maui was a test bed for a weapon system that they have recently created, and it's them telling us that they can do it too.
Why burn down Maui though?
Location. Because it's in the Pacific.
It's more accessible.
It's more accessible.
Did you see all the green laser shit when the balloons were going over? There was a bunch of green lasers that were in Hawaii. There was tons of dudes with cell phones. Like, holy shit, what is this?
There is a NASA satellite system that uses lasers to map.
That was the speculation that it was some kind of mapping shit.
That they use. That's why it's multiple lasers. It's not just one little laser beam.
It was hundreds of them.
Yeah. There's a NASA satellite that does that to map. So the Chinese were doing blue roofs 10 years ago. Because 10 years ago is when that plane that you keep seeing them show, that's old tech.
Right, that's the 80s, the big one. There's some small ones out there right now.
That's old tech,
with
right?
that same thing.
And so because of what they're using, it's an ultraviolet system. So you take that ultraviolet system and you put it on any regular colors, and it just heats it up. It doesn't see the blue correctly, so it can't heat the blue because it's outside of that spectrum. Okay, so the Chinese have this weapon, and they used it on Maui, and that's why everything is a big secret. It's a big secret, and they're not talking about how many people were killed.
Okay, have you heard,
blah, blah, blah.
Have you heard this part?
It's also the reason, but I will say this. It's also the reason why we keep talking about cars. Everybody keeps talking about cars, all the cars that were burned. Like, how does a car in the middle of the road catch on fire? Well, because a car is a target. So when you're using a laser, you're using a targeting system. You're not just You're not just flying over and going boo, because it's ultraviolet. So you have to heat the object up in order to get it to catch on fire. So what I do is I shine my laser on Brandel, and I hold it there while I'm flying. I hold it there until Brandel catches on fire. As soon as Brandel catches on fire, I move my laser over to John. Hold it there until like we used to do with ants, right? With the magnifying glass, it's the same concept. And so cars are easy targets. It's easy to hold that track onto a car and fly around it and get it hot enough to explode and catch on fire. And then it burns at a temperature that has the possibility of catching other things on fire.
Do you know what color Oprah's roof was?
Blue?
Yep.
Yeah.
Think that was just coincidence?
No, I don't believe it was coincidence at all. I believe that that there are certain people in the know that know what's going on.
So there's a lot of speculation that all these kids that are missing, that this was another fucking like Epstein operation. These kids were actually grabbed up. So they were sent home from school early. They're saying 800 to 1,000 children are missing.
Yes.
You know what you're not seeing? You're not seeing a single video of any parent screaming from the rooftops like, "Where's my kid?" You're not seeing any of it.
Well, because here's the issue with that. I don't believe that they're not like I if we were to go to Maui, I bet we would be able to find all kinds of parents that are worried about their children.
I have an answer for that too.
But if you want to as a government, if you want to shut this down as quickly as possible, you would do everything you can to censor that from the news. So if you have anybody screaming about it.
Or eliminate them.
Well, maybe. I mean, they were turning people back around. They were trying to get out of.
Okay, so did you hear about the shootout? Did you hear about the mass grave?
Mm-mm.
Okay, and I mean, we don't find a dude, right? There's not a dude's like, "Yep, I was there. These are the fucking photos of it." But it is said that Marine Corps got in a firefight with FEMA.
Yeah.
They came up, FEMA had a mass grave, hundreds of bodies that they were burying, and the Marines but again.
Not true. No, and this is what I'm going to say. First off, the Marines don't, we make an assumption that the Marines operate in some sort of different way. DOD wise or whatever, that we make this assumption. They do, in the sense of the Marine Corps is the president's own, so the president can use the Marine Corps for 90 days any way he sees fit without having to go to Congress. That's it. There's no rogue generals out there that are like,
we're going to follow the Constitution.
We're going to follow the Constitution. We believe in the Constitution, because the reality is all the general officers, if you have a star on, you were brought up during the Clinton era. Don't ask, don't tell. You got promoted during the Obama era. They're all Mileys. The general staff is all fucking Mileys. That's it. And so they're towing the line. Now, if you told me, if someone out there was like, yeah, Colonel Jones just fucking flipped, got the battalions online and went and fucking helped Lanai, that I could believe. Because colonels are still kind of out of the fray, right? They're not at that political level yet. And colonels, light colonel and a full bird colonel, they still know what it means to be a soldier.
Well, those are guys we know. Like we don't know no generals.
Do I know any generals?
But we got some friends that are colonels.
Yeah. What I'm just saying. Yeah. What I'm saying is they're not removed.
Correct, because we wouldn't be friends with them.
Once you pick a star up, you're removed from the troops.
That's what Flynn was saying on BET on Bet. What am I saying? BET on Valuetainment on Bet David's show. He's like, where's the Mad Dogs? Where are these dudes that actually believe in the Constitution and operate within the Constitution? He said, none of these guys, none of these generals. He said, once you get a third star, that's a politician. He said that's given to you. That is appointed. Oh, yeah. You don't get that from the military. He's like, where are the real generals at?
They're not. We don't have them. They're not there.
Where is Mattis?
Where is he?
Yeah,
retired.
Where? Doing what?
I don't know. Working some big major working some big contract. I mean, here's the thing.
General Dynamics.
There's going to be some hate on this, John. Are you ready? Are you ready?
Yeah, go.
Mattis was not the fucking superhero that
Right.
everybody pretended him to be.
Right.
I mean, he was not. Marines died in Fallujah because of Mattis. He's not the superhero that everybody pretended that he was. I mean, yes, there's good imagery, right? The Marine Corps, as Marines, we love imagery, right? We love the knife hand. We love the idea that a general officer cares about Marines. We love that because the Marine Corps is all about imagery. But Mattis as a Marine, it's fucking terrible. He didn't give two shits about Marines.
What do you mean in Fallujah? Are we talking the airport pullout?
No, we're talking about
Fallujah.
We're talking about Fallujah. Mattis did everything he did to eliminate the element of surprise. He told them when we were coming. He told them everything they needed to do. So every bunker they built, every ATGM missile they set up, every machine gun they put in, they did because Mattis told them we were coming.
Why?
Because he's a fucking politician. That's all. He's a politician. He was trying to placate. The politics instead of being a goddamn general and being like, hey, Marines.
Who benefits from that?
He does.
Personally him.
But
who allowed him to do that? Who's his handler?
Oh, he doesn't. Mattis didn't have a handler. Mattis groomed General Mattis groomed an entire staff. So from the time Mattis came up in the Marine Corps, he groomed an entire group of other officers to think and act just like him. So he didn't have a handler. His goal was to be the commandant of the Marine Corps and go further. But that's politics. It's got nothing to do with Marines. Nothing to do with Marines.
Have you seen any of these YouTube channels that are actually in Hawaii? Like Maui real estate, for instance.
No, I haven't seen.
So he has a house that was in there. His house did not burn down.
Well, of course not.
I don't think he had a blue roof either.
Yeah, but I guarantee you he had what most people that lived in Maui didn't have. He had space, right? If you got you got 20 by 20 around your facility and your trees are trimmed and your
so he's out there interviewing people. And the stories they're telling do not match the mainstream media stories, right? He is out there videoing.
Are you talking about General Mattis?
No, I'm talking about Maui real estate.
Oh, okay. I was going to say the General Mattis. That does not sound like Mad Dog Mattis.
No, Maui real estate is a YouTube channel, and he's out there on the ground, cell phone, interviewing people who have lost their shit, right? And people in the area, and he is not finding any parents who are missing kids. So I believe his assumption is that the parents have also been disappeared along with the children or nearly after the fact. But what he's out there and they're handing out food, right? They've just got food set up in parking lots and stuff, and they're giving assistance to these people. Law enforcement rolls in.
Oh yeah, tells them to
you got to shut this down. The powers that be, I don't know why, but they told us to shut this down. And there's tons of that shit. Like thousands of these videos of people bringing aid and assistance in, and they are not letting it get to the people. And now they've put this whole fence up and with this debris, basically like sunshade, so you can't even see through.
If you are a police officer and you're wearing a uniform and people are doing no harm, and your answer is, I don't know, the powers that be told me, you need to get in your car, go drive underneath a bridge somewhere and just take a nap. That I don't like. For example, I don't understand why, like when they were stopping people on the road leaving Lanai, how in good conscience you could be like, you can't leave, you have to turn around and go back. I don't know why.
What is the purpose for that?
I don't know why they just didn't. I don't know why. I mean, I do know why, because pay attention, people. Hawaii is disarmed. Those people did not have weapons. It would have been a different story if the people of Lanai had guns.
How did Hawaii become disarmed?
Because they're raving lunatic Democrats.
All of them?
Yes, Hawaii is a raving lunatic Democrat den. That's why.
But you have a population of Hawaiians that have been there since like their lineage is before it was part of the United States, right?
The lineage is before it was the United States. But the problem is, sorry, Hawaii, they have been beaten down to the point where they believe that the Democratic Party is actually helping them when its sole purpose is to keep them down. Sole purpose is to keep them down, to have the foot on their neck. Yeah, they enjoy the They enjoy the free money and the free whatever, but it's with a foot on their neck.
Because those cars that were leaving, they're burnt down. Like those cars where they stopped them from going through, you can see where the line of cars stops and where they could have gone. And many of those people where those cars burnt down, they had to actually get in the ocean. So, but what's the answer to that? Why did they? Who told them to stop those people? What's their even bullshit reason for it?
Well, I don't know if there was a bullshit reason for it. They just stopped them. Remember so you have documented cases. You have documented cases of law enforcement going against the people of Lanai in this scenario. Documented cases. And
currently.
And who's in charge of those law enforcement officers?
What's the answer? Who is?
The same dude that was in Las Vegas.
Correct, right. But I heard he took off. Like, he's been relieved of duty, or he just fucking fled the area.
Well, probably smart thing to do is flee the area. But those officers are still operating under maybe the orders of the mayor, because he is a white dude that is trying to steal Hawaiian land. Again, you can't make this shit up, right? None of this stuff you can make up. Like, why hasn't anyone been arrested? For example, the dude who was in charge of making sure there was water. When you think about fire hydrants, John, you don't turn on and turn off fire hydrants.
Right. Anytime we crack a hydrant open, they're always pressurized.
You don't turn on or turn off hydrants. So for the dude in charge of the water to specifically say, we turned the water off, that's malicious. That is malicious. You are taking away emergency services that those people have already paid for. Why has he not been arrested? Why has he not been charged with the death of every single person that died in those fires? That's malicious. The only reason why he has not been arrested is because he's being politically protected. That is the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party will kill you. They will burn your children up. They don't fucking care because they're evil. The reality is the Democratic Party is evil. They are the fucking Ku Klux Klan. They always have been and they always will be. And the only reason why nobody gives a shit, the reality is because they were Hawaiians.
Native American people, same
yeah.
fucking
and they
thing.
They don't care. I mean, I guarantee. Think about it for a second. The mayor, the police chief, the fire chief, they were all Democrats. All of them, every one of them. The power was turned off hours before the fire even happened. So when they're running around talking about the power did it, that it was power lines, power was already off. They turned the power off in lieu of the storm.
Where's British Columbia?
It's up in Canada.
Right. Like way north Canada?
Northeast?
So I haven't looked into this, but as I got up this morning at 4 o'clock and I was drinking some pre-workout and scrolling through, I saw some videos people were putting out that said the exact same thing just happened, is currently happening on fire in British Columbia. The exact same thing that has happened in Maui is currently happening right now. I haven't gone any further and fleshed this out. I don't know it to be correct, but there were several videos on Instagram and TikTok saying right now, this motherfucker's on fire. The same shit is happening.
I mean, here's the thing, if you get away with it once, why wouldn't you do it again? Mm-hmm. They're already talking about North Carolina, that apparently because of this new storm that's coming up from the Gulf, people are talking about how many fires are going to start because of this storm. So
what are we talking? How are you going to have fires in a hurricane and rain?
That's how the Lanai fire started.
Come on.
That's how the Lanai fire started.
Was it raining?
No. It wasn't even windy.
So I guess Florida just got hit with a hurricane.
Yeah, it's the one that's coming out of the Gulf.
And then we're supposed to it's Ryan Hall, y'all, like the storm guy. We're set, to be in this major storm pattern that's coming up here, I guess this coming week or something. But I looked at my app this morning and we're 1%, 2% chance of rain till Monday.
Good.
So.
Because I got work to do.
Yeah.
I got to paint my roof blue, top of my car blue.
It's fun, the blue thing, right? We drive around.
I may even paint myself blue.
We drive around. Yeah, the Blue Men had it right?
Right, they did. They were telling us all along.
We drive around and you see a lot of like new construction, small barn dominiums and stuff, and you see the blue roofs. And I'm like, man, that blue roof really does look good. And I don't know. I like a black. If I was going to build a new construction build, it'd probably be black roof, all white with, black trim and shit. I like that look too. But the blue, man, you do start seeing there is a lot of fucking videos and pictures, even in Hawaii, like the blue trash cans right there next to a car literally next to a car burnt down.
How about Tommy Bahama umbrellas?
Yeah.
None of the Tommy.
Yeah, like Starbucks umbrellas.
Because they were blue.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you think it's real?
I mean, here's the thing. There is no explanation that you can, I don't know. As a Neil the science guy can't come up with an explanation on why the things that happen, like the aluminum, all the aluminum melting, the Tommy Bahama umbrellas is crazy because they are right in the fire. It's not like they were out on the beach. They're in the fire and none of them are burnt.
And they're all made of just sunbrella material.
Yeah, they're just made
fancy Cordura.
They should have burnt and melted and all that shit. But the things that happen to the cars, nobody's explaining why all the aluminum is melting.
The question I see from that too is like, okay, aluminum melts at 1800 degrees.
Yeah.
Asphalt melts at 400. Why is the asphalt not melted? I hear that a lot.
I just saw this today. Two cars alone in a grass field at the far end of the fire. Those two cars are in a grass field. Again, cars completely melted, aluminum melted coming off of them, and the fire radiating out from the cars. So how did those two cars catch on fire?
Right. So the grass didn't come to it.
The grass didn't come to it. It came away from it, and all the aluminum. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. And for them to, the biggest problem is in this scenario is for them to do a news blackout and cover it all up only tells me that it's evil.
Let's take it a step further. Do you know that they have a lockdown on drones out there? You can't, all these DJI drones and shit.
Yeah, they have a lockdown on drones. They have kind of a lockdown on news reporting. That's why the only thing you see is coming out of YouTube. So,
but not only like, hey, you're not allowed to fly your drone, the drones won't take off.
Yeah.
That's fucking weird for a burnout area. Speculation is they don't want those drones to see the mass grave sites.
Well, speculate this. I promise you. Okay? They're going to bulldoze everything into the ground. There'll be no investigation, and it will all be bulldozed over. So, whatever.
Come into a city.
I mean, if the Hawaiians aren't going to
rise up, sharpen some sticks.
I really, really, really hope. The Hawaiians have a strong spiritual culture,
I would think.
And I really, really, really hope that they will get together and they will fight tooth and nail to keep that government from taking their land.
Yeah, Tulsi Gabbard's saying some shit.
Yeah, but again, Tulsi's part of that machine.
Yeah.
She's not doing anything about it. Like I like Tulsi, but get in a plane, fly your ass over there and get some fucking answers instead of running the podcast circuit talking about how terrible this is. Because she has the capability of doing it. She's a senator she's a rep from Hawaii.
Senator or Congress?
I don't know. I don't remember. But,
okay, so have you seen all the magnifying glasses?
No.
Okay, you haven't.
No.
Because you would know exactly what I'm talking about. There's a bunch of fields. There's a ton of pictures showing up of magnifying glasses. Basically, you take a stick, and it's got this little arm, and it's holding a magnifying glass on, like, wheat crops and grass fields and shit. So people are planting these in the dark. The sun comes up, magnifying, boom, lights the field on fire, right? This is the ignition source, is the magnifying glass. There's a bunch of pictures going around, and when you read the fucking comments, man, that's where you gotta like look in the comments. Dude, if there was 1,000 comments in this fucking thing, 300 of them were like, yeah, that happened to the Amish guys here, that happened here, and there's a lot of thought that this is one of the ways they are starting a lot of these fire. So maybe you have laser beams, right? But some of these fires are just these eco-terrorists, and this is how they're fucking doing it.
Maybe, but the problem is in that scenario, it doesn't explain a lot of the stuff that caught on fire, right?
No. I'm not saying Hawaii.
Oh yeah.
I'm saying just these random fires out in the middle of fucking nowhere.
Yeah, I mean,
have you looked at
the crazy thing about that too is there's so many ways to start a fire and not leave anything behind. Right? You don't need to. There's so many ways to start a fire and not leave anything behind to where people would be like, oh, look at this fucking magnifying glass on a stick. This is definitely how this fire started.
What are some of the ways?
Well, I'm not going to say that on here because there's a ton of ways of just creating fire without leaving a product behind to where it's going to directly implicate you.
I've here's
the problem.
I've had shit catch on fire just from my mower exhaust.
And here's the problem with the magnifying glass. That would mean you actually were there twice, not just once, because you would have to be there in daylight hours in order to establish the distance that you need to be in order to concentrate the beam. Okay, so you would have to set it up, leave. You'd have to set it up to the right height, leave, come back and put it in the night. So you would hope that the next day it would do it.
Yeah, filthy hippies will do that.
Yeah, I mean,
Did you see the?
They can also filthy hippies also have matches. You could just throw a fucking match.
Did you see the animal protester? This happened a while ago, but it just made the rounds again. Some animal protester had handcuffed himself to some like conveyor belt line or something. Oh yeah, I saw the one. You talking about Burning Man?
No, not Burning Man. Just recently, like Lake Powell or Lake. I don't know which lake it is.
Rob was just there.
I want to think somewhere in Nevada. I'm just assuming it's some lake in Nevada. These damn
the Frenchmen,
guys. All this stuff that you think you're doing to save the planet is not doing anything to save the planet. You are only making it worse. No, they're blocking.
It's Burning Man.
Where the truck runs
where
through?
The ranger. He was.
Oh, yeah.
It was on Indian property.
Oh,
so everybody. It was an Indian park ranger. Native American Indian.
That motherfucker.
Yeah.
Rammed full force through that.
Clip in, lock in. So they
ran full force through there with people handcuffed to these damn trailers.
So the trailer was weird. Like the trailer was something they had fabricated because when you see him hit that and get out and go get down like with his taser or whatever, there's 15 minutes of footage leading up to that. They have a conversation.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
And it's this filthy Frenchman. We, peaceful. We're peaceful. Yeah. Nothing's been changed in the world without, peaceful. I don't know what he was saying, but there's 15 minutes of footage leading up to it. There's several vehicles that had gone around, and she's like, lock in, and they lock their fucking hands inside this fucking this black PVC pipe shit like we use for drains, so that you can't get to them, right? And then them locking their hands inside of concrete and shit. I'll bet you there's a lot of fucking protesters thinking twice right now.
I was just like, the thing I thought was cool, I was like, oh man, that dirty hippie's getting his ass beat by a cop in shorts.
Peaceful civil disobedience is what he was saying.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
you're not doing anything. I mean, come on, you're not.
Well, all the Burning Man people were like,
"Are you sure it was Burning Man?"
Yeah,
because it was Lake some. I saw Lake something. I thought it was.
It had something to do. Everybody was saying Burning Man, but they're like, "You're protesting the wrong people. We just want to come out here and burn, man. We want to burn, man." Yeah, it was Burning Man.
Well, if it was Burning Man,
and they had, dude, the traffic was backed up 10 miles back up.
If it was Burning Man, I can see. I could see eco-terrorists wanting to stop Burning Man because of how many people they put in the desert.
No, we're on your side. It didn't have shit to do with that. They were talking about capitalism and stopping capitalism and sticking it, to big corporations. You're in the wrong place.
I don't know.
I mean, they got some publicity. I wonder where they're sitting right now.
Oh, they're probably.
And if they were chained to that trailer when he hit that motherfucker,
All right, that's what I'm saying. He went full tilt. It wasn't like let me push up against your little dumb sign and then push it out of the way.
Yeah.
Like he did damage to and he was what
He was up on the fucking bank. And
whatever they said to him, it would be interesting to see the footage from the body cam if he had one, because whatever he said, they said to him when he did all that, he was fucking pissed. Because when he went up on the bank, he's like fucked up the bumper on the. He was pissed when he did that. So they had to have done something. Like he's
operating.
Must have assaulted his. They must have said bad things about his cat or something.
He's operating. If he is tribal, which I believe that's what I was hearing, he was a tribal park ranger or something on that property. They operate under a different set of fucking guidelines than.
Maybe, I mean, the issue becomes if he's got the backing of the council, then he's probably all right. Like
that's what I'm saying. Somebody probably told him, "Hey, it just took me 45 minutes to get in here. Go fucking handle this shit."
Well, did you see? Because you mentioned Burning Man. Did you see the shenanigans of last year?
No.
It took 24 hours to leave Burning Man last year because of the traffic.
Isn't that how Bonnaroo is? I mean,
yeah, it took 24 hours.
Bonnaroo is always a fucking mess, and that's nothing like Burning Man.
And it's weird. It's weird because Burning Man, I don't know why they do it, but they do like to leave. They do like 6 lanes of traffic. So to leave, you have these 6 lanes of traffic, and they just go. They have 6 lanes of traffic until you get to where the road's at, the real road, and then it goes down to 1. And so that's why everybody's trapped there.
So that gives you the perception when you're leaving that you're going to get out.
Yeah, that you're going to get out.
And as you get angrier and angrier, you're not there to cause a problem.
If you're a Burning Man,
a burner,
if you're a burner, just fucking stay in your tent. Don't leave because those motherfuckers are going to be sleeping in their car.
Yeah, we need to go to Wasteland.
I need to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, okay.
I can't believe you threw General Mattis under the bus. But fuck you.
Oh yeah, Austin's gonna build that. That'll be the first short he clips out of there.
No, tell him not to. I do not want to see that on TikTok. Well, don't do it. Okay, you want to take a short out? Talk about lasers. No, nothing else. I better not see that on TikTok.
Oh, you're definitely seeing it.
I better not see it on TikTok.
I'm not doing it.
Or I'll burn the.
You'll use your laser on Austin's house.
I'll get a laser out. You better paint your car blue, bro.
It is blue. His car is blue, actually.
Oh!
It's not the right blue.
Wait, so different blues or different?
Well,
it was all that like royal blue color.
It's that aqua royal blue color. It's not.
I don't own one blue.
You didn't see any navy blue shit out there.
You know the crazy thing is
there was no blue cars not burn up.
The blue cars, like there's a blue car that's in the middle of all those cars that got burnt on the way out.
Is that real?
Yeah, there's a blue car sitting right in the fucking middle that did not catch on fire.
I didn't see that. I just saw all the
blue.
Easily combustible shit that wasn't burnt up.
Yeah.
Maybe the fire thought it was water.
Maybe fire doesn't. Here's the thing. This, you know what the interesting thing that I learned. This is the interesting thing I learned when I was in Kuwait one time, and I was doing a retrograde. So the whole battalion had been in this area in the middle of the desert, in the middle of nowhere, and we were retrograding, leaving, and I had to stay behind as the cleanup party.
What does retrograde mean?
Leaving.
That's okay.
Leaving. And so I had to stay behind with the cleanup crew and manage cleanup. And so basically all you do is you pack up everything that gets left behind. And all the stuff that gets left behind is supposed to go back. Okay? Well, when you're a battalion and you've been in the desert for a month, you collect a lot of shit. Not just, not just food and water, but barbed wire and just a lot of stuff.
Where's it come from?
And so it comes from supply trains. They bring them out, drop it off, so we have the stuff. And so I had to have these Marines pack all this stuff up. And I want to say we had I'd have to look at the tape because I did make a tape of it because it was amazing.
What about war trophies? Any war trophies?
No war trophies. All that stuff is already there. Well, this was training. This is after the Gulf War. We had 172 pallets of food, water. When I say pallets of water, it's stacked up to your eyebrows, right? Water, fucking MREs, barbed wire, just anything you can think of. And the log train officer who stayed behind was like, this shit can't go back. We don't have the capability of getting any of this shit back. So we had already palletized it and everything. And he goes, I want you to get with the engineers, have them dig a pit. We're going to burn all this shit.
Why not just give it to the locals?
There's no locals where you're staying out.
Okay.
We're going to burn all this shit. And again, they wouldn't do that because it would create a political issue, meaning if I give all this food and water to the Bedouins, the local magistrate's going to be upset that we didn't give it to them. It just becomes this fucking political nightmare.
Because they can't control them through food then.
So I'm like, sir, it's fucking water and MREs and barbed wire. He's like, just go get with the engineers. They'll know what to do. So I go talk to the fucking gunny who's in charge of the combat engineers who were out there with us. And he's like, oh yeah, we'll dig a pit. We'll burn all that shit. I'm like, it's fucking water. And he goes, water burns too. You just have to have the right amount of fuel. And they dug a huge pit, and we spent a day just throwing shit in this pit and burning it. I teared up a little bit when we started throwing the MREs in there. I'm like, it's a fucking $1 million worth of MREs we're throwing in the fucking pit. This is when I was young and the MREs were fresh and new. But anything you can think of, we threw in that pit and burned it. And then the engineers brought their tractors in and they leveled it all out and sprinkled some magic on top of it, and we left.
Burn up the barbed wire?
Yeah, everything. Everything went in the pit. Everything was burnt.
What did they use to light it with?
Diesel fuel.
So just diesel and
hundreds and hundreds of gallons of diesel fuel. And then so we did all that. Basically when you're doing a retrograde from the desert like that, they want the desert returned to the way it was. So they did all that shit, covered it up, and I think like we were halfway home. And they're like, "Hey, the fucking Saudis or the Kuwaitis or whoever, they found your stupid burn pit, and now we have to send combat engineers out to that site and dig that burn pit up and get all that garbage out of there that you guys burned." So it ended up turning back on us. And I'm like, when they said something to me, because I was actually in charge of the working party, I'm like, we palletized it. I told them we should take it back. Because I'm not a big waste, fraud, and abuse. I don't, the government is all about waste, fraud, and abuse. We destroy millions and millions of dollars worth of pieces of, or billions of dollars worth of pieces of equipment every year that's perfectly useful, totally good. So even for me, and I know I'm a lonely individual Marine, but when an MRE gets thrown onto a fire because you're too lazy to turn it back in, or, the reality is, keep it, eat it. Why do you have to throw it in the fire? That's what he really meant.
I palletized it. When they said we couldn't take it, he said, I'll take it.
I did. If I had
I'm sure you did.
If I had a way, if I was a secret billionaire, or me and Elon went to high school together, I'd have been like, Elon, Kuwaiti airport, 72 pallets of MREs, we're bringing them home.
What kind of aircraft you need for that?
C-130.
We'll do it.
Yeah, we'd do it. Just take them off the pallets and just pack them in there. Get rid of all the cardboard, because we could burn the cardboard boxes. I don't care about that. But yeah, the government's too big into waste, fraud, and abuse. But again, that was the day that the combat engineers had told me, you can get rid of anything with fire.
It's the same thing with when they're coming back from deployment. They dump ammo off the ships.
Yeah, that's a sad.
They dump the ammo so that we get the same. So they got the same allotment the next time. It was the same. It's not
it though. So the reason why they dump ammo when you come back is they dump ammo that has been broken out. So if I give, like a rifle platoon, if I issue everybody 5.56 ammo, they put it in their mags, blah blah blah, and
only 6 mags. 6 is a combat loadout.
Nobody carries 6 mags except truck drivers. Anyways, if you give them all, if you issue out grenades and you issue out, once you break it out of the package, it's not the air. It's the fact that the logistic guys are like, I don't want you spoiling my good ammo with your funky ammo, so we're going to throw it overboard. Right? There's no repackaging it. You can't repackage it. And it's sad because what they really could do is just be like, hey, you know what'd be great? You know what'd be awesome? We have Marines that have never thrown a hand grenade. Let's throw some fucking hand grenades. That would be awesome. Or why don't we just shoot this ammo so guys could get training on the systems they have? But they just put it all in a fucking box and then dump it overboard. All the time. Waste, fraud, and abuse. It's what our government is so good about. Is we love, when you think about all the equipment and shit that we left in Kandahar, is on purpose. It was totally on purpose because they just didn't want to deal with it. They do that all the time where they're like, oh, they'll give you some bullshit story about an MRAP. My God, it's so heavy. We should just leave him here in the desert. It was heavy when it came over. And the other thing is, it's already been paid for. It's cheaper than a new one.
Well, isn't the real deal is that if we leave it, now we have to buy another one?
Yes. That's the real deal. The real deal is...
So while the guys leaving it have no financial gain, but somebody does.
If I leave 10 Black Hawk helicopters on the airfield in Afghanistan, I'm going to immediately go to the department. I'm immediately go to Congress and be like, hey, we left those Black Hawks in Kandahar like you asked. We need new ones. Which, again, waste, fraud, and abuse, guys. It's just waste, fraud, and abuse. You're abusing. It's because congressional members and Defense Department members do not have to account for the dollars they spend to the Americans that they're stealing that money from.
Are the Black Hawks still a current issue thing? Or do we have something to
No, we're still using Black Hawks.
Do you know what those cost?
Oh, I mean, they got to be in the millions.
25 million.
Maybe more. I don't know. Black Hawk could be very expensive.
Taliban ended up with all those, right?
Yeah.
And we just sent how much money to the Taliban?
$3 billion, I think.
$3 billion. What do you think we gave them that $3 billion for?
So it's a
gender studies?
Nope. It's a CIA operation to keep the Taliban fighting against the Iranians. Again, your country stirring up shit in the Middle East with American equipment and American money, starting another war that we don't need to start. The truth of the matter is the fucking Afghanis and the Iranians have been fighting forever anyways. If somebody got elected to office and told the CIA, sit on your fucking hands, stop doing all these fucking insurrections all around the world, they would still happen. The Afghanis would still be fighting the Iranians. The Iranians would still be fighting. They would still happen. They've happened forever. They are so tribal in those regions that it would still happen. We don't need the goddamn CIA.
Yeah, but Brown and Root and fucking Raytheon wouldn't make their...
Well, Raytheon wouldn't make their nugget, but guess what? Raytheon is making so much money right now because of the war in Ukraine that you can ease up on Afghanistan and Iran.
So, war in Ukraine, what's up with the airport? Russian airport got bombed last night and all Russian airports are shut down.
Oh, I don't know.
You didn't hear about this?
I didn't hear about it.
They say drone swarms.
The Ukrainians are adapting a type of it's not really a new type of warfare. It's just a new type of control. The Ukrainians are using drones very effective, and it's not the drones that you think. When we're talking about drones flying over trench lines and dropping grenades, it's not Reapers and shit. That's terrifying, but it's not the real deal. The real deal is the drones that they're using in the Black Sea, for lack of a better term, because I don't know what kind of boat it is, the kayaks that they're putting bombs on and sinking Russian ships with. That's where the real money is being spent, in the sense that if you can take, I don't know, let's just say one of these kayaks cost let's be crazy. Let's say it costs $5,000 for the Ukrainians to put this kayak together. They're putting real Russian tonnage under the water. Billions of dollars. So they're taking relatively pennies on the dollar to sink billions of dollars of Russian hardware. The Russians cannot leave the Black Sea port because of these drones. So their sea power in that region has been completely negated because of these Ukrainian seaborne drones that they're using. Probably, I would say the most effective piece of equipment that is being used over there, dollar for dollar, because it is really, unlike everything else, this has restricted the capability of the Russians. They cannot use that sea power without the risk of losing billions and billions of dollars.
Now, when you say kayaks, are we talking like kayaks like we have?
I don't know because I'm looking at a picture, so I don't know representation.
Like a remote control fucking ski boat or something?
No, it's the shape of a kayak, and it's all drone technology. So it has its own camera and shit, and they drive it over there. They're green, and they attack these ships. I've seen some videos of the Russian ships actually destroying these things, where they're being hit at daylight out, where the Ukrainians are trying to attack these Russian ships during daylight hours and not being successful, but they're successful enough that the Russians cannot leave port.
Yeah, I heard they have some kind of countermeasure for it now. They actually deploy like this chain link fencing or something.
Well, they could they could try and use, anti-torpedo nets like they had in World War II.
Maybe that's
World
what it
War
was.
But they're still, they just recent, I think it's recent, might be wrong. The flagship, they took the Russian flagship out. So these things are very effective, and that's the key to really that kind of warfare in general, is to be able to restrict an adversary from using equipment. Right. So if I can keep the Black Sea clear of Russian ships, that gives me more space to maneuver in because they're not out there interdicting what's going on the sea. So it's no different than, what we like to do. What's the first thing we do is we destroy the enemy's ability to use aircraft. So we get air dominance, and the Ukrainians haven't been able to do that for whatever reason. The F-16s aren't going to save them because we're not giving them enough, and they don't use the weapon systems in the way that they were designed to be used. It's just a fact. So it'll be, what I think is going to happen really is the lines aren't going to change much. The lines are going to, 1 mile one way, 1 mile another way is not, it's not an effective offensive technique. You're just trading inches for lives, and that's not how you win wars. I think by the end of the year, maybe this winter, they're going to sue for peace. There is going to be a,
what do you mean?
Meaning they're going to get together and be like, hey,
well, that's not in the United States' best interest.
The United States needs to get ready to fight China. Ukraine is going to take a second fiddle. So one of two things is going to happen. Either the Ukrainians are going to see the end of their funding. They're going to see the end of NATO support, and they're going to be like, hey, let's end this war. Let's get with Russia. Let's sue for peace. Let's establish the lines and end this war. Or the Ukrainians are not going to see the future. They don't understand that when we go to war with China,
they're on their own.
They're fucking on their own. We're not going to, it's not going to, yeah, we might sprinkle some nuggets over there, but they're on their own, and they don't want to be on their own against the Chinese or against the Russians.
Do you think we'll pull Zelensky out of there and bring him someplace safe, or do you think we'll just see him drug through the streets?
No, Zelensky will be in Switzerland sitting on stacks of gold bars. I mean, he's already amassed billions of dollars.
Yeah, Trump says he'll end the war the first day in office. All the polling says that Trump's going to be the president. Everybody who is against Trump says Trump's going to be the president.
The deep
state. So they're trying to remove him from ballots right now in Florida. They're trying to remove him from the ballot in
the deep state. The reason why things are going the way they are, the deep state actually wants President Trump, or they want Trump to be elected.
Why?
Because the deep state is going to assassinate him.
So why not just assassinate him?
They don't get what they really want until he becomes president.
Which is what?
A general uprising in the United States so they can suspend the Constitution and take over the country.
Who's going to enforce that?
The same people who are enforcing it now, the FBI, the CIA, the secret intelligence apparatus that is all over the United States.
So you think they'll just pick key elements and raid them in the middle of the night to instill fear into the general population? You've said thousands of times that they don't have the manpower to round up.
Here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing about the deep state. The deep state are, when you think about the FBI, the CIA, I mean, again, there's really good people that work in the FBI. They're really good people that work in the CIA. They're really good people in these organizations. The ATF. There are really good people
organizations
that work in those organizations. Okay. But those organizations operate in bubbles. They operate in bubbles and they create a fantasy in their head where they feel like they could take over America. There is a general, I am sure that there is a general consensus within that bubble that believes that the majority of Americans are sheeple, and that if they assassinate the president of the United States and the extreme right raises up against the government, that whatever puppet they put in charge says, we're declaring martial law, we're suspending the Constitution until we can quell this bullshit. There's plenty of Americans who will put their masks on and clap. That's what I think the deep state believes. But I don't think they understand. I don't think they understand at that level.
I don't think they care, because the people that are pulling those strings, they're not going to be involved in those things. They're sitting in their fortresses.
I don't think so.
Where do you think they're sitting?
I think those people are sitting in a glass house.
You think so?
Yeah. Soros.
So you think it's like the Purge?
I mean, you think of like Soros and all those people. They're sitting in a glass house. They're being protected by the very people that they hate. That's it. They're being protected by the very people they hate. The only reason why we have not already, that the country has not already gone to war with itself, is because people are too comfortable. They're just too comfortable. And there is a point when the government is going to overstep because again, there are these steps that they're taking. They will always, if they can take a nickel, the next time they're going to take a dime. And the next time they're going to take a quarter. They will always take more each time you let them take some. And there's going to be a point where Americans are going to be like, nope, this isn't what America's about. This isn't supporting the Constitution of the United States of America. You're evil. And that's going to be a problem for them.
So what do you think happened? Okay, so martial law. Boom, martial law. What happens the next day?
War on a level that the deep state is not ready for, and war on a level that the world has not, I don't want to say has not seen, because they see it all the time, Kosovo and Rwanda and places like that. We see it all the time.
Both of those places had mass fucking genocide and graves.
Yes. But the difference is one party went after another party that was completely unarmed. That's not the case in the United States. The case in the United States is, if you balance the books, the right is more armed than the left. Okay? And if you balance the books, the right is actually more armed probably than the government. When we're talking about personal firearms.
Come on now, you don't have F-16s. You can't take on the government.
I don't need an F-16.
I got you.
I don't need an F-16. So you're talking about a scenario that it doesn't play out well because, again, the entire federal government is not going to rally around this idea that the deep state has about destroying this country. They're just not gonna. There's going to be individuals within those organizations that are going to cause problems. Again, there's going to be FBI agents that are going to be like, this is not America. You're not going to go after these people because they have a different opinion than you.
So General Flynn was just on Valuetainment this morning. I was listening to it live when I walked out here. Mm-hmm. It was going for quite a while. And he said that you do have people in the government that hate America. That's that's exactly what he said. They hate America. And he said, if you have an election like the last election, that is the end of the United States as you know it.
Maybe.
And basically, when pushed a little further, he said they're going to catalog, they're going to digitize people, and they're going to control what everybody does.
They're already cataloging. They're already digitizing.
So what do you think?
They already know what your opinion is.
So October 14th, they're doing this mass. They're going to ping everybody's cell phones. This mass emergency response system.
Oh, so I got to turn the phone off that day.
Well, it has to be beyond turned off. You need to put it in a Faraday cage.
Okay, I'll bury it in the backyard.
So just
sprinkle some pee on it.
So are you not aware of this? So do you know when they did one before? Right, a couple of years ago they did this thing. None of ours ever rang.
Well, I mean, I don't get very good full reception, anyways. Right. AT&T, you're not rocking and rolling in this part of Tennessee.
Maybe that's going to be the rapture.
I don't know, maybe. But again, the government, from a perspective, the government does not need, there's not something they need to do tomorrow to catalog and categorize everybody in the United States.
Oh, yeah. Like, anybody with a Facebook account is already cataloged. Anybody with a cell phone's cataloged.
The NSA has been hoovering up every piece of data for years now. So
MonkeyWorks does a show every day, and in the beginning he goes and identifies these planes, and he's like, "Oh, I think that's what he says. They're actually collecting all the data out of all these cities from anything that comes through cell phone or computer."
Yeah, they collect everything.
Yeah.
Every piece of data, cell phone, computer. They're probably watching you on your TV. They collect all the data, but again, it becomes enforcement. 15-minute cities are a great idea because it's easy to enforce a 15-minute city.
Well, that's what it's about. Just like the electric cars, we can just turn. Tesla turned off all of the Teslas in Russia.
Yes.
When Russia attacked Ukraine.
Yes.
And motherfuckers are still touting all this shit. Like, it's actually mandated. Congress passed something years ago that next year it goes into effect, that they have a kill switch in all your vehicles. It's already there. They're just admitting that they have access to it now. And they're doing it under the guise of, well, what if somebody steals your car? Now we can turn your car off.
Right. So I don't know where we're going with any of that except.
So martial law comes into effect.
Martial law.
Tomorrow you said it's war. Who's fighting?
What do you mean? Whatever troops are.
What armies?
Whatever troops are loyal. Whatever troops they find that are loyal to the cabal or loyal to big government versus the state of Louisiana, the fucking state of Texas,
so do you
the
see,
state of Tennessee, where real Americans lived.
Do you see Group doing what Group does? Group goes out and starts recruiting?
I mean, it just depends on, because here's the thing. The crazy part is the deep state has been baiting Trump voters since the election. Like every time they've thrown a fucking every time they've tried to arrest him, every time what they were really doing was baiting Americans to take up arms against the government. That's what they want. They want Americans to take up arms against the government because as soon as that happens, they can suspend the Constitution. And that's their goal. Their goal is to get rid of the fucking Constitution because the deep state believes that they know better than the rest of Americans.
So they come out on the news tomorrow and they're like, the Constitution is suspended. I hear decree.
What you're going to see if I predict
that'll just come with martial law. It'll all be in the same speech.
Well, I mean, sure, but I predict if they declared that the Constitution was suspended, that you would have large groups of individuals from across the country and from across the aisle, because there are still Democrats who believe that the Constitution is the only thing that's keeping them alive.
That's what Flynn was saying. He's like, I was a Democrat. I was promoted. I was in under Clinton. I was promoted during Obama. I got my 3rd and my 4th star.
You're going to have large groups, I believe, that would march peacefully against whatever government officials are declaring this to be
you
true.
Mean at local level, or do you mean they're going to head to Washington, D.C.?
What happens, I mean, just think about it. What happens in Camden, Tennessee, if they declare martial law and say no one can be out after 10 o'clock? Who's enforcing that?
Correct.
Who here is enforcing that?
They tried that.
Oh, I don't know.
So the local police chief actually had a couple of little tyrants running around, and Yeager posted up on all of his social media. At 9:45, we'll be traveling because the curfew was 10. 9:45, we'll be running to Walmart. Anybody wants to join us? And they had a bunch of vehicles. They had a fucking convoy of vehicles. And while they were stopping people after 10 o'clock, they did not stop any of those people. It was a female cop and one other cop that seemed to be on board with this.
You're always going to get. I mean, you're always going to get in any large group of people. You're always going to get somebody that would raise their hand and force people into train cars. Mm-hmm. There's always going to be those people that think, you know what, it's a good idea to suspend the Constitution.
And there's even more that'll just go along. I was just following orders. You saw it happen. You saw it happen 2 years ago.
Well, it's happening in Hawaii right now. Again, there's going to be those groups of people. Those groups of people aren't as big as people think, because, again, like I said, they're going to be Democrats. There's going to be, lesbians that are going to be like, hey, the Constitution, they can't suspend the Constitution. There's going to be, redneck hillbillies in the swamps of wherever that are going to be like, hey, they can't suspend the Constitution. There's going to be a large group of individuals from all walks of life that understand how important how important the Constitution is, and how far we've gotten away from it, how far we've allowed the deep state to control what is going on in this country. So what I see is you would have a peaceful march. You would have protesters that would descend on Washington, D.C.
So we're talking like Million Man March kind of shit.
Maybe, yeah.
So
maybe.
That's what I was looking for you. That's exactly what I thought you were saying. You don't think they'd use air support to just mow those motherfuckers down?
Hell,
you don't think so?
Hell no. No. That.
I mean, they did. You don't think they're going to just turn all their shit off?
Well, I'm sure they would turn everybody's stuff off, right? But at the point of Mothers of America and, the coalition of southern states and whoever joining hands and marching on the Washington, turning their life off isn't going to matter, because the minute you shut the Constitution down, you already did turn everybody's life off. You've already killed Americans by shutting off the Constitution. So why would it matter? Are they going to have, I don't know. Are they going to have troops there with shields and machine guns? Of course they are. And is there going to be a point where people will be killed? Probably. But at the point where peaceful protesters are killed in mass by troops of an illegitimate American government, that government is definitely in trouble. That government is definitely in trouble, because there's fucking millions of armed veterans that will have no problem taking up arms against an illegitimate government. And that's going to be a problem, because they're fucking. Here's the thing. Unlike the establishment of a war North against South, they're everywhere. They're everywhere right now inside the White House. there is an American that understands how important the Constitution is, and he is armed and has access to every fucking room in the White House right now. That guy's in there. Now, they think that they have weeded all those guys out. They think they have gotten rid of them, but he's in there.
That sounds like a Vince Flynn novel.
Well, I'm just saying it's the
Mitch
truth.
Rapp. Yeah.
You know, it's no different than the ATF. It's no different than the FBI. Those Americans, those true Americans, are in those agencies, and they have been working and they've been doing their jobs, and they've been listening to all this bullshit, and they shake their head and they go, yeah, whatever, and they continue to do their jobs. But there's going to be a point, especially at the suspension of the Constitution, that those individuals are going to be like, this is not what I signed up for. And the reality is, I don't, we don't need, I don't need them all to take up arms.
Do you think that will ignite other pockets all around the United States?
Oh, everywhere. It's not just going to be a march against, if the deep state suspends the Constitution, it's not going to be just a march against the White House. It's going to be a march against a political idea. The political idea that is the left that wants to destroy America. That's what it'll be a march against. So would they march on the Capitol of Sacramento? I am sure they would march on the Capitol of Sacramento. I am sure that people would march all over the country, and it would become a serious problem for the political elites. Because, again, you think about Soros, or you think about, I just use him, Bill Gates, right? Who is he? He's really nobody. He's fucking nobody who surrounds himself with people he thinks that think exactly like him.
Yeah, the second this shit happens, they're leaving the country.
But the real guys that are even protecting them, they don't believe this bullshit. Like, they don't believe that bullshit. You're not going to have, Delta Force running around the country killing Americans in the middle of the night. That's not going to happen. They're just not going to do it.
Oh, they're going to do it.
No, they're not going to do it.
They're going to do it. Not to U.S. citizens, though.
They're not going to do it. They're going to sit it out. I mean, that might be the biggest that might be the biggest problem for the deep state. That might be the biggest problem for the deep state if the same thing happens here, or the same thing happens here that happened in Egypt. So when all the uprising was happening in Egypt, the Egyptian military was like, we just ain't.
Are we talking about Arab Spring?
Yeah, the Egyptian military was just like, hey, we just ain't.
So there were tourists over, and like Tim Pool says, he was there when that happened, I guess. He's like, you could be in McDonald's, and there were just people sitting there eating. You could be in the shopping mall, there were people shopping, while they were literally 2 blocks over, gunfights and shit.
So, I mean, that could be the biggest problem for the deep state is if the U.S. military, mostly, because again, example would be Flynn. Flynn right now would amass I guarantee you, Flynn right now would mass a military unit and have no problem killing Americans. Like, he would be all for it. Killing Americans. That's how much of a fucking traitor, insurrectionist piece of shit not Flynn. I'm sorry, Flynn. Not Flynn.
Miley.
Sorry, Flynn.
I was wondering where you were going with that.
Sorry,
I'm
Flynn.
like, man, Flynn seemed pretty good.
No.
There's some he was one of the runner-ups for one of Trump's picks to be vice president.
I'm sorry, Flynn. I'm talking about Miley. You guys got me riled up. Miley would have no problem killing Americans. No fucking problem. Like, it wouldn't even be a thing that he would question. He would be like, suspend the Constitution, let me take troops in and
because those guys
Americans.
operate out of emotion.
So
how dare you go against me?
Because Miley's evil. Again, Miley is fucking evil.
So when they suspend the Constitution, 6:00 on Monday,
yeah,
what's the immediate next things that happen?
You start to have a breakdown in social order all over the place.
Like people stop going to work, or people try to continue their lives, or
as
soon as there's no Second Amendment,
you're gonna have a little bit of both. But I think the reality is the catalyst.
I think you're gonna have local tyrants go and try to enforce shit that was not enforceable previously.
Well, you're gonna have a level of lethargic response. Okay, there's gonna be a level of lethargic response. I don't believe that even at that point will, outside of pockets, would arms be taken up against the United States. I believe that it follows a kind of script in the sense of Americans as a whole, left, right, center, wherever you're at, Americans as a whole come together. They march on Washington, D.C., and it's the tragedy of Washington, D.C. that creates an armed resistance in this country. It's the tragedy of the people being killed that peacefully protested up on Washington that would create an armed resistance. I think it really takes a lot to wake Americans up. Like, it takes a lot. And not necessarily that they're sleeping. It's just, 24/7 you're inundated with emergencies, tragedies 24/7. And so you get hardened to that to a certain perspective where it's like, I don't even care what happened in fucking California. Who cares? Right? You get hardened to that. And so I think it would take a multitude of Americans across all different backgrounds marching on Washington, D.C., the deep state responding in a manner that is heavy-handed, people being killed, and then I think it would happen.
How fast do you think that would happen?
I think it would be very quick.
So when they if they suspend the Constitution, do you think most people are taking and hiding their guns, or do you think they're now wearing their guns?
Depends on what state you're in, right? If you're in California, you're probably digging a hole in your backyard, and even, I say it depends on what state, but even California. I mean, the reality is California's a red state.
Right. We have this impression that everybody in California is a liberal, but it's actually if you look at the landmass, it's less than 10%
Los Angeles,
of the landmass. Yeah.
It's Los Angeles and San Francisco.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have the population, but I mean, even you think about even the tyrannical bans that they do now, like the bans that California has tried to enforce for the last 20 years. I don't know any of people in my genre, or people, that I would know. I don't know anybody that ever said, I'm going to bury my guns because the state just banned them. I don't know anybody that did that.
Isn't it in California, when you buy a box of ammo, there's now a waiting period?
Well, there's a background check. I don't know if there's a waiting period, but you have to fill out the same form that you fill out to buy a gun. I want to apologize to General Flynn. But sorry, man, you're in that club.
I'll send you the link to the video. It's worth listening to.
Because
David, he kind of like pussyfoots around on some shit, and when David's like, look, I want some real answers.
It would be hard. Here's the thing. It would be hard for him to, it would be hard to him, again, because here's the problem. Even though he's been ostracized, he's still in the club. He knows he's still in the club, and he knows that in reality, if he does a full dump, right? If he does a full dump on what he knows, he doesn't have information that's valuable anymore, and he's so touchable that the establishment could touch him at any time.
So he said, he's like, when you're in the Pentagon, right? He asked him, he goes, you ever been in the Pentagon? He goes, we call them wall walkers. When you're walking down the hall, you've got these dudes that just stay right by the wall and don't make eye contact because they're hoping to not talk to you. And he's like, I like to engage people and talk to them. They don't want to talk to you because then you're going to give them a task, right? He said, there's people that do, and there's people that just get by not doing.
Yeah.
And he said, that's 90%. He said, typically when I was in the White House, we just had people, if I needed an expert on entrepreneurship or finance or whatever, we would get the best dude in the world and have him here to talk to us tomorrow. He said now,
Nope.
he said we typically had 50 people, right? He said now there's 900 people, and none of them do anything.
Yeah, none of them are experts on anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, except the political ramifications of doing something or not doing something. It's interesting that Flynn would call them wall walkers. The issue is, and this is kind of one of those things where I talk about, general officers are out of touch with the real world. And and he's out of touch with the real world when he calls
even normal officers don't even live in the same fucking housing.
When he talks about wall walkers, it's the royalty. So if you clean the floors in the Queen's house, you are to work and not be seen. So that's why if you watch when the royalty walks through a room, if you see anybody in that room, they're wearing the same color as whatever the wall is, because they're there to work, not be seen. And it's also, they can't walk on that carpet. That's why the royals walk right down the center of the room. It's so there's no interaction between the serfs and the real people. And that's kind of the same way with the Pentagon. I talked about colonels, a light colonel and a full board colonel
still gets in the field and leads troops.
But yeah, at the infantry level, when you think about combat, right? When you think about combat, they're getting dirty. They're leading troops.
Right. They carry a rifle.
Yeah, they wield the power. They wield a power that most people can't even imagine the type of power that they're wielding.
There is still potential for them to be in danger. There's not potential for a general to be in danger.
They're doing it at the behest of generals. Now, when you're in the Pentagon, a colonel makes coffee, right? A colonel makes coffee. So this guy who had, if he's at regimental level, 4 battalions, if he's a light colonel and he has an infantry battalion, who could wreak havoc across the battlefield and knows it, he's at the Pentagon, he's making coffee. So that's why I'm saying,
and not carrying a gun.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying, when you think about the Pentagon and Flynn's talking about wall walkers, it's because they're there to make coffee and not be seen.
They're the serfs.
They are the serfs. And so that's why they're up against the wall. But it is true that if you want to be in the military and never have to really work, go to the Pentagon. You can find an office where no one will ever, especially if you're, especially if you're just like a lonely captain or something, you could be at the Pentagon and no one would ever know. Like we had the big thing for the Marine Corps, I can't remember which year it was. The first time I was over there when I had the rifle platoon, the commandant came out and he was like doing this whole song and dance about, him and the sergeant major were doing this whole song and dance about everybody in the Marine Corps should have been in Afghanistan or Iraq at this point. And we'd already been there 10 years. And so he was trying to take a survey of how many people, how many people is this the first year, in the battalion, they'd raise their hands. Second year, and they would raise their hands. And he's like, and we're doing everything we can to make it so that, that's all you have to do is 2 deployments over here, blah, blah, blah. And Sergeant Major kind of was like, how many people is this their third year? And more people raised their hands. And then the commandant looked at the Sergeant Major.
He's like, don't ask the fourth.
He looked at the Sergeant Major, and then he looked out at the crowd, and he's like, how many have been here 4 times? And because 7th Marines was, 1-7 was doing back-to-back at that point. And so a bunch of people raised their hand, and he was like, how is this possible? Well, it's possible because,
yeah, he didn't ask 5.
The Marine Corps is very terrible at keeping track of who's where and doing what. And so they're like, we are going to comb the Marine Corps and find all these people who are hiding out, who have not been here. We are going to ensure that everybody in the Marine Corps gets their foot in the door over here in Iraq or Afghanistan.
Yeah, but he didn't say we're going to make sure nobody has a 5th year.
No, of course not, because the guys that fight are the guys that fight. And so the problem is, the problem with that statement is none of those Marines wanted to hear that. None of those, there's not a single Marine in there that wanted to hear that you're going to pull some master sergeant out of the Pentagon who's been there for fucking 20 years and you're going to put him in charge of a cat section?
Yeah, useless.
Useless. Fucking useless. And the next deployment, we got those guys. The next deployment, we got dudes who had no fucking clue what the Marine Corps was doing in Iraq or Afghanistan. Like, we got that. Like, again, I know nobody's going to believe this, but I had a master sergeant who didn't know how much water went into a 5-gallon water can. Okay?
Somebody last week said you were lying because he couldn't have been a corpsman. He'd have to be able to run IVs or he couldn't have been a corpsman.
Oh, okay. For that statement, you're full of shit. And yes, you can give IVs and still create a murder scene. He was terrible. I'm not saying I told you,
my zipper's down.
Oh, boy had an IV in when I went in the room. I'm not saying he couldn't do it.
That's like saying
he did it terribly.
That's like saying you go to a clinic and they draw your blood. Every phlebotomist should be able to draw your blood. Well, everybody knows that she blasted through one side and you got a big old bruise and had to get the specialist.
Yeah, again,
Dipshits.
You don't know what you're talking about.
So go ahead.
I don't know where I was at, but again, they just, to a certain point, you don't want those guys, right? And I mean, the Marine Corps, if the Marine Corps really cared about Marines, it would have weeded those guys out anyways. They should have been like, what? You've been at the Pentagon for fucking 20 years? We were still using M16A1s when you left the infantry? You know what would be a good idea, Master Sergeant? If you retired. That would be a great idea. Let's put that paper. That's how you make the Marine Corps better. Let's put those papers in. You really aren't providing us with anything that we need.
It's almost like they take that colonel, put him at the Pentagon and make coffee because he wants to further his career and continue to be in the Marine Corps, and they know he will keep his mouth shut.
Well, okay. It's a stepping stone. So if you are an infantry officer or officer period, there are certain stepping stones that you have to do in order to continue on with your career. Most of those stepping stones are outside of warfighting, right? They're, again, even that colonel, when you think of a lieutenant colonel who has an infantry battalion, right? He had to go through all the ranks. He was a lieutenant at one point in time. He was a fucking captain, a mate. He had to go through all the ranks to get to colonel. Most of his time was spent outside the infantry. Most of his time was spent at the War College or maybe at the Pentagon or maybe recruit command, or most of his time, he actually has very little time in the infantry.
So I'm sure all of this conversation we just had is going to get us completely shut down. Let's switch gears a little bit.
And do what? I mean, if we're already shut down, we're already shut down.
Have you seen the viral video going around of the mother that was called into the school over her son's backpack? I saw this yesterday.
Oh, yeah, I've seen it.
Then I've seen it pop up hundreds of times now.
Straight A student.
The kid had some stuff on his backpack. He was running for class. Did you notice he was running for class president?
I didn't.
That's the sign that was on there. But he had a "Don't Tread on Me" flag.
Yeah.
So this, I assume I don't know. Let's say she's vice principal. I don't know who she is. Principal, vice principal, maybe. Calls mom in to have a meeting, and the kid can't have this flag, and she's like, why can't he have this patch on his? There's patch. All these kids walking around out here have patches. Why can't he have this "Don't Tread"? Well, because it's seated in slavery.
Yeah, she's ignorant.
Yeah,
that's the problem. The problem is, just because somebody is a education administrator or even an educator does not mean they know what they're fucking talking about. And she definitely didn't know what she was talking about. Matter of fact, that was the first flag that the Marine Corps flew.
So not only that, you and I, if we have a "Don't Tread on Me" flag, we are categorized as domestic terrorists.
Yeah, but that is
one of the. Never mind that the state of Tennessee will issue you that on a license plate. Never mind that Texas also issues it as a license plate. But we have.
Yeah, but that's enemies. The reason why that has been designated as a terrorist or a whatever, white supremacist or whatever, it's because of those are enemies of America. Those agents who put that list together,
yes.
Those are enemies of America.
Yes. Yes. Would you be surprised to hear that right next to it is the American flag?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, it has to be.
So when people say, well,
because they're enemies of America.
People say cops won't go door to door and round up guns. Well, every police department has a Homeland Security person, has a liaison to Homeland Security. We have one here. I know him.
Yeah.
Super nice guy. Staunch Obama supporter. Doesn't like Trump. Hillary supporter. Like everything. And where did he go? He went to Jackson, Tennessee for the FBI symposium that they had. They had it in Jackson 2 years ago. And that's when this list came about. And it's the same. This list was actually published years before this whistleblower came out, and it's popped back up in the news recently. But domestic terrorists, right? And now they've added to it. Domestic terrorist, a sign that this person you're dealing with might be a domestic terrorist is that they say, don't believe me. Check for yourself. Look it up for yourself. That's literally one of those fucking classifications that's on that line item. Just fucking nuts. It's because you're being classified. You are being categorized, whether you know it or not, whether you've had contact with law enforcement, whether you've had any kind of confrontation. You are being categorized. You've been put into a category by some dude who is not the mainstay of law enforcement department.
I'm sure that everybody already is.
Correct.
I'm sure they already have like
just off your
a red and blue, like a
round up, don't round up,
classification.
Yeah. Yeah. That was it.
Mm. Yeah, I'm sure. It just again. The crazy part is I can't believe that there wasn't enough blowback in the FBI. Which, when that came out, like Ted Cruz, did you see Ted Cruz pull his boots off?
No.
Ted Cruz has a pair of boots that have the. I can't remember what it is. I think it's the Take It If You Can or whatever. It's a cannon with a star.
Come and take it.
It's one of those things. And he's like, am I? And he takes his boots off right in front of the FBI director. And he's like, am I a terrorist? And the problem is it's an ignorant question, because what you're doing is you've already been categorized. Yes, they categorized you before you took your boot off.
It's all theatrics, man. If you were in Texas and they raided your shit and we're going to take out Ted Cruz, wouldn't be out there to assist you?
No, because that's at an individual level, right?
Got it.
When we're at an individual level, everybody's on their own.
Yeah.
But when the government overreaches to the point where masses of American citizens are being detained or incarcerated or killed, then it becomes different. I mean, would I be surprised? Would I be surprised if the government suspended the Constitution and Ted Cruz was still in Washington, D.C.? Probably not.
Mm-mm.
I mean, the reality is all those at that level, they've all been bought and paid for. It's just.
I would be surprised if what's the bald guy's name from Mississippi? I'd be surprised if he was there.
Oh, I don't know. Because they've all been bought and paid for. They're all millionaires now, and they got to be millionaires through ill-gotten gains from stealing from Americans. Plain and simple. There's no way around it. Every dollar outside of the $100,000 that they get paid, that they have received, has been stolen.
Yeah,
if anybody needs to be rolled up for the RICO Act, it's Congress, not Trump. Because they are gangsters at the supreme level.
So what do you think about the mugshot? What do you think about Trump turning himself in and taking the picture?
Come on, it only made him more powerful. It only made him more powerful. I personally believe that it's the reason why they keep talking about Biden's ill-gotten gains and how crooked his son is. And
did you see the new shit that came out yesterday about Biden?
His secret.
A bunch more emails came out.
All his
where
secret
he was
email
using
accounts,
the fake names and stuff. Yeah,
all his secret email accounts. Yeah, but I believe the reason why all that is being leaked is because, again, I think the deep state is dying to elect Trump as president so they can kill him. It's the only option.
How do you think that'll happen?
A How do I think it'll happen? I think a woke, white, leftist, transgender, non-homosexual Klan member is going to shoot Donald Trump.
I figured they just hit him with a missile or something. Hit his
No.
plane.
It has to be semi-deniable.
So you think it'll be like a mostly peaceful, mostly white Asian dude with swastikas all over his?
Yes, it'll be something like that.
So have you seen any of that?
I mean, the minute they showed the picture of him, I'm like, I'm done with it. I'm done with corporate America trying to pretend there's something going on that's not going on. Again, Asian guy shoots some black people. That's terrible. It's terrible.
Was it in a black neighborhood?
But do you know what the number one? Do you know what who has who the number one group of individuals who do violence against the Asian American community is that community.
Black
so
folks.
Again,
well, the most violence done on black people is by black people also. Now, my friend Kevin Dixie will point out every time we say that. Well,
we just got another strike.
Why?
Because you can't. You're not. Truth is not allowed.
So my buddy Kevin Dixie.
Truth is not allowed, buddy.
From NOC, I believe that's No Other Choice Firearms, or firearms training. Kevin will point out when you point out, why don't you motherfuckers police your own? Most violence on black folks is done black on black violence. He's like, yeah, that's like me pointing out that most pedophiles are all white guys. I'm like, yeah, okay.
But they're also most likely to be homosexuals.
White guys?
Yeah.
Pedophiles?
Yeah.
Pedophiles are most likely to be homosexuals?
Yes.
Okay. So
because it's usually on.
It is on boy.
Yeah, it's usually something like that.
Are there pedophile women? Because I don't consider.
See, that's the problem.
I don't consider two 13-year-old boys that rail their fucking teacher on the school disc. I don't consider her to be a pedophile.
Again, that's a problem. That's a social problem that we all have.
That she should be allowed to. We should be giving those kids trophies. I know that's not where you're going.
It's not that. It's just that we have a social conscript thing going in our heads that.
Did you ever Did you ever have sex with an older woman when you were younger?
No.
Did you? Did you ever bang your teacher? Brandel? No?
Did you? You did, right? Didn't you?
No, I never had. I was 18, but I had sex with I was 18. My girlfriend, their neighbor on military housing, she brought the neighbor over. And she was like 36.
I'm just saying we have a social conscript in our heads. So everybody does, I think, which wrong or right, I'm not to argue with it. Because I think it's different when it's perpetuated on a girl versus girls perpetuating on a boy. Meaning, nobody thinks that a school teacher having sex with a 13-year-old girl is a good idea. We all socially agree that that's a problem, right? Like probably outside of the pedophiles, we're probably 100% in agreement with it, right?
Can we move it to 16?
I don't know what the.
I would just be like, dumbass. Why do you women keep getting caught? Like, why are you letting these kids take pictures of this?
But as far as female teachers with young boys, it still follows the same guidelines. But even legally, we are more lenient with those female teachers than we are with the male teachers. Like if it's 100% across the board, exactly the same, he's banging a 16-year-old girl at the high school and she's banging a 16-year-old boy at the high school, she's definitely going to get less of a sentence than he is. Not only is she going to get less of a sentence, but she's also going to get less of a stigma, meaning that dude has to carry around a fucking scarlet letter A for the rest of his life.
Well, he's
not going to have to.
He's also going to be beat down in the system where she's probably not going to be.
Yes,
as
they
well.
I'm not sure. Correct me, YouTube, if I'm wrong, but I don't think female prisons are as hard on their.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that.
Then I may just be in the dark because I don't look this shit up.
But and a lot of those females, when they get out, continue a relationship with those boys. Whereas I don't think that goes the other direction.
No, definitely doesn't go the other direction. I don't. Again,
like
I'm not deep in that world, but
one
I don't
of the big
think so.
ones. I don't know how old the kid was. She did some time. She did years, and then he went and visited her while she was in the system. They fucking have kids.
Yeah, I think that one you're talking about. Anyways, she got out on parole, got nabbed again in a parking lot, put back in jail, was pregnant, had a baby. I think those two might still be together.
Yeah.
Maybe.
We had some shit happen. I think maybe it wasn't Camden, it was in Franklin. I think. So some coach leaves his phone someplace. It's unlocked. Let's say he leaves it in a restaurant.
Oh, Jesus.
Yep. They open it up to find out who this is so they can return the phone. And there are a bunch of photos of him raping boys who are unconscious. So this gets busted out, and there's fucking 20, 30 counts of this shit where these boys are knocked out and he's having sex with them, and he left his phone sitting, and this is how it came to light.
The Lord works in mysterious ways. Glad he got caught.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if we fucking stone him in Court Square, would it lessen it?
Okay, it would lessen the openness of it.
Should the boy? Well, then it would skyline the boys too.
It would lessen
the boys be able to.
It would lessen the openness of it, because right now we've created.
So they'd be better at hiding it.
We created this social conscript through certain acts that have made it more acceptable.
I think a lot of people that are doing the.
But it would definitely, because again, you think like. I don't know. For example, I'll use Saudi Arabia as an example. Homosexuality is a
stoning offense.
It's a death offense. You can if they.
But there are gay people there.
If they show that you are homosexual, they can kill you. From the most part, I do believe that they still use that as a political weapon. But again, they also exploit. They also exploit those homosexuals in that country that are willing to feminize. So again, transgenderism, they'll exploit that in that country. So it's still there. The threat of death, right? The threat of death is not a thing that did not erase homosexuality from their.
Isn't marriage?
It just pushed it underground.
Isn't marriage or sex before marriage is illegal there? Is it not? But there's still tons of prostitution.
There's still tons of prostitution, but in certain parts of that world,
not Saudi Arabia or other Middle Eastern countries.
Certain parts of that world, boys are for fun and girls are for marriage. So there is a lot of homosexual acts that are committed pre-marriage because you can't touch a woman. Right. So, the idea of our adolescence where we were able to sow our oats, as it would be, that's not legit over there. OK, it's not legit to the point that if you, for example, the first girl you were ever with, you defiled her and you could be killed for that. And they don't, and at that point, it's not the government. It's the father. The father himself could kill you for defiling his daughter. I'm not saying this is one way or the other, but for defiling his daughter. And the government would be like, it's a good kill. You know what I'm saying? They'd be like, yep, that's a kill. So because of that stance, fucking, 13 to 18-year-old boys are still raging with hormones, and so there is a lot of homosexual acts committed but it's weird that they don't look at it that way, right? They just look at that as the only reason why it's happening is because you ain't married yet. When you get married, you're good to go, right? So it's weird. It's weird. I'm not saying one way or the other. Again, like I said, you just push things underground when you're enforcing a level of a law to that point. And so are there, it's like you they cut your hand off for stealing.
Mm-hmm.
People still steal, right? People still commit crimes.
Have you seen all the maps of the fires all around the world?
Yeah.
There's some fire map.
Yeah.
As you zoom in and zoom out, you can really, when you look at this, all of Africa's on fire right now. There's fires fucking all over the world.
They're lighting fires in order to push global warming.
Green agenda. Mm-hmm. I think they're also lighting fires. Like, what in Africa is going to burn?
Well,
think about Africa. I mean, I haven't seen all of Africa, but most time I see Africa, it's pretty fucking desertous, kind of area.
It just
right?
depends on where you're at.
Are you aware that they've taken and greened up tons and thousands and thousands and thousands of miles? They've put in all these crops, and they've got this fucking aquifer that they've put in through Libya, and they're greening the desert.
Yes.
Is that what's on fire? Are they burning all the crops? Are they burning everybody's food supply?
No, they're not burning it. Because it's a different model. I mean, when you think about the United States or what happens here and stuff, it's just a different model over there.
We just had a massive locust eat a bunch of crops.
Yeah, but that happens all the time. I mean, it happened in the time of Pharaohs. Locusts do
that's
what
one
locust
of the
does.
seven. That's one of the 7 plagues.
Yeah, but locusts do what they've always done it. And locust is just a grasshopper that's gone mad. So, but what I'm saying is it's a different type of world over there. And so the power brokers at B, like, your Prince Abaduba, your Prince whoever, right? You want to green the desert.
Sure.
You want
absolutely.
to do those things because that gives you more power. It gives you more power through your people. So if Bill Gates showed up in, I don't know, the Sudan and was like,
light it up,
burn this motherfucker down, he wouldn't listen to him. He'd be like, whatever. We'd go back to fucking. Even if there was a money exchange to a certain extent, obviously everyone has a price, but people are still power in Africa. People are still power in Africa, meaning it's more important to control the people than it is to control anything else, because that is where you're getting your power from. So I don't know if they would. I don't know if the agenda goes well in Africa. I mean, certain places, yeah, like, where is it right now where they're like, kill the farmers?
Several
God,
places.
you guys are so stupid. You're so stupid.
Well, they're kill the white farmers.
Yeah, but again, you know why? Because they're the only ones farming.
I got it.
It's just so stupid. But again, it wouldn't surprise me one bit. It wouldn't surprise me one bit if the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation was paying that organization, because the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is all about killing people.
It does seem that way, yeah.
So, I mean, name a place where they, I mean,
right. Where did they do good?
Where are they doing good? Where are you doing good, Bill? I mean, where? Tell me where you have saved anyone.
Have you seen all the pictures of him dressed up as a girl when he was younger?
Oh, I don't know, but
all
those people.
Have you seen all the Melinda Gates is really a dude?
I have seen those.
Yeah,
but I don't think so.
You don't think they were hanging out with Michelle?
Well, I'm sure they hung out with Michael, but Michelle. Sorry, but I don't think she is. I think that's part of the reason why they got divorced.
Because he was
a fucking freak
doing little kids.
I mean, there's a certain point in money and power where it just becomes evil.
I think they become desensitized to normal shit.
I don't think
Remember the first time you had a soda and you bounced off the walls? It was the best thing in the world.
If I had $1 billion, like woe is thee. People would have to watch out, because I believe that Bill Gates and goddamn Elon Musk, I don't know why they're not flying around in a big bat car and fighting crime. I don't know why.
Like the ambiguously gay duo.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why did I can see why, Elon is spending money on rockets to go nowhere.
So apparently they found some shit on the moon. Another rocket went to the moon. Have you heard all this? And they found some different type of hydrogen. It's going to cure all the world's problems. Did you see that India supposedly landed something on the? Did you see that it looked like a like a cartoon?
Well, so what? Again, this is when conspiracies go wrong. What people weren't paying attention to. So there was two videos. Okay, there were two things that were going on. So when you see that cartoon rocket ship and the cartoon rocket ship is doing stuff, that's not the ship.
Right. That's
the telemetry. Well, no, basically it's their telemetry. So whatever the telemetry, whatever the rocket, whatever the lander is doing, they were showing it on the screen so everybody in India could see what it's doing.
So have you seen actual video footage of their lander? Yeah,
if you look. So
does it look better than that bullshit they showed us?
I don't know.
But if you look at the 60s,
if you look at the telemetry, like when they're showing all the Indian Space Agency and they're looking up at the screen and you see the president over here and all the banners and bullshit. But if you look at the cartoon, so the cartoon is basically it's showing you what the lander is actually doing. Right below it is the actual camera that's on the lander. And so you actually see a side of the lander and the lander as it's coming towards the moon, and it doesn't look like a fucking cartoon thing. It was just a dramatization to show regular Indians who were watching on TV what the fucking thing was doing. It wasn't.
So do you think they really went to the moon?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, because Elon was like, high five.
Cool.
If anybody would be like, yeah, that shit didn't happen, it would be Elon. Because he wants to be he don't give a shit about the moon. He wants to go to Mars. So, anyways.
All right. So what do you think is going to happen within the next couple of weeks?
Next couple of weeks?
So do you know when they did Trump's mugshot and they brought all his people in and booked them through and they bailed out? You know who the one dude that didn't bail out?
Yeah, imagine that. Imagine the
black guy that's in charge of black people for Trump, or what was the name of the organization?
I don't know the name of the organization, but imagine the Democrats leaving the black American in chains. Imagine them doing that. I can't. Would the Democrats do that? Of course they would, because they're the party of the Klan.
So I said that on a live feed, and somebody said he chose not to bail out. I heard that fucking whoever that process, they refused or denied bail.
Okay, well. Maybe I'm wrong, but either way, Democrats, it's bad optics. You should have just said, hit the streets. Yeah. All that no bail, all that no bail freedom we do up in New York City, we're going to sprinkle a little bit on you. You need New York City,
they're doing it everywhere, man.
Yeah. Because it's definitely bad optics, but I believe that the Democrats did it on purpose.
More states have just passed bills or have bills put forward that illegal aliens can now become law enforcement.
Yeah.
That's kind of catching and spreading.
Well, let it spread. I mean, you have a hard enough problem with law enforcement. You have a hard enough problem with law enforcement now, the optics of what's going on in that community. Now let's put people in uniforms that are not beholden to the Constitution. Good call. See what happens. So I don't think it's going to work out the way people think.
All right. Any last words, final words?
I didn't mean anything I said this episode. It was all just tongue-in-cheek. It's all bullshit. Don't believe anything I said, especially about the moon landing. It's really a cartoon ship that landed on the moon. I know you guys are going to argue that. And corpsmen don't have to be great to give IVs. They can still really, really hurt you.
All right, guys.
That's where they get their training is in the fleet, by the way.
So if you listen to this, if you're listening to this now, you know what the situation is. I'm just saying this so they can break this into another video. We just recorded podcast episode 39. Podcast episode 39 is up on Patreon. The link is there to watch. We are not able to host this on YouTube. Sorry. So again, more and more, this seems to be happening to a lot of different people. Their videos that we upload are getting pulled. Their videos are getting pulled. We have put it up on another server. And you can get the link by being a member in our Patreon. It costs $5. Also on our Patreon, we do all of our giveaways. That's where we're giving these items away. You'll get to pick which one you want. $5, and podcast episode 39 will be there for you.